Hello, and welcome to another video. This is the first episode of the story, in which Jiraiya finds his 10-year-old godson not being cared for. After returning from one of his missions, Jiraiya decides to take Naruto and train him. How will things change? Please like and subscribe to show your support. Now, let us begin. It was the day after the Kyuubi attack. All were in mourning over the loss of their greatest hero, Minato Namikaze, and all the others who died the night before. What few knew was that Minato had a son named Naruto, who was now, by a twist of fate, branded to be the carrier of the Kyuubi for the rest of his life. We find Jiraiya sitting on a rooftop alone, drinking some sake. Well, Minato, you saved the village, but wasn't there another way? Jiraiya asked nobody in particular. Jiraiya was feeling responsible for Minato's death because he wasn't in the village during the night of the attack. Late again, always too late to save the ones I care for, Jiraiya said, berating himself for his failure as a friend and a mentor. Jiraiya sat there, drinking the remainder of his sake before he walked over to Minato's grave, placing a white flower on top of the monument. Sorry, was the only thing Jiraiya could say. Jiraiya was now alone. Tsunade had disappeared to who knows where, Minato and Kushina were gone as well, and his best friend that he wrote off years ago was still a complete traitor. Well, I'd better go see the old man, Jiraiya thought. Jiraiya walked slowly through the streets of Konoha to Hiruzen Sarutobi's office. The third Hokage had to take up the mantle of Hokage once again because of Minato's death. Jiraiya arrived at the Hokage building, but he really wasn't ready to talk with anyone yet, especially his former sensei. Jiraiya slowly walked through the Hokage building until he reached the door to the Hokage's office. Jiraiya didn't bother knocking, he just walked into Hiruzen's office. Jiraiya saw a cradle next to his desk, and he looked at the sleeping baby. It looks like he's going to look just like his father, Jiraiya said sadly. Hiruzen looked down. He was heartbroken by the expression on Jiraiya's face. Yes, he will look a lot like him, Hiruzen replied. How long will you be staying, Jiraiya? Sorry. I can't stay long, and I don't think I should take the boy with me even if I am his godfather, Jiraiya replied, never looking away from the newborn child in the crib. Where's Kakashi? He should be able to care for the boy while I'm away. Hiruzen shook his head. It wouldn't be good for him. Minato wasn't the only one close to him who died last night. Jiraiya's eyes went wide. You don't mean? Yes. I'm sorry to say Rin also perished in the attack, Hiruzen said in a sad tone. Jiraiya slumped into a chair. I see. With Kakashi never showed up at the funeral. It's not that he didn't want to, it's just that he couldn't. He wasn't afraid of the funeral. No, that wasn't the case at all. It's just that he lost everyone close to him last night, and he didn't know how to deal with it. He just walked aimlessly around town. All he had left was the eye that Obito left him and Rin implanted in him. Kakashi had no idea that Minato's son was still alive. Kakashi found himself at the memorial stone in one of the training grounds that had Obito's name carved in, along with so many others. I'm sorry, my friend. I couldn't keep my promise after all, he said to the stone, almost as if he was expecting it to talk back to him. Kakashi stood there, staring at the stone. All he had left was his shinobi career. Kakashi stood at the stone for another 3 hours without even moving, even when people passed by to pay their respects. He never once looked away from the stone. Kakashi sighed, he needed a drink. Kakashi roamed the streets of Konoha until he found an almost empty bar near the edge of the village. He walked in to see Jiraiya had the same idea as he did. Kakashi sat down next to the toad Sannin. Jiraiya looked at him, unsure of what to say. The two of them sat there, drinking in silence. Kakashi put down his drink. How do you deal with it? He asked. Jiraiya stopped drinking. When you find that out, please tell me, the Toad Sannin said in a broken tone. The two just sat there in complete silence again, until Jiraiya decided it was time for him to go. Kakashi looked at Jiraiya, who was now leaving the bar. "So, when are you going to be back?" he asked the Toad Sannin. Jiraiya stopped. "I don't know," was all the Toad Sannin said before he left the bar. 10 years later, 10 years had passed since the day the Kyuubi attacked. The day was like any other for one Naruto Uzumaki, well, almost. It was his birthday, but he had no one to celebrate it with, as always. This day of the year, he hid, or at least tried to hide, from everyone. Naruto was in the clear from any beatings until the Kyuubi festival began. He didn't know why people tried to attack him on this day every year. He thought it might have something to do with his whisker-like birthmarks on his face. He didn't really know. A young Hyuga girl followed him around town. She had met him in the ninja academy, and was infatuated with him. He was always so confident, and nothing ever seemed to get him down, and that's what drew her toward him. Sadly, she was almost the exact opposite of that. Hinata smiled as she followed him around another corner. She clutched onto the present she was going to leave him later that day on his doorstep. She did the same thing every year since she had met him. Naruto always seemed to love the presents she left him, but she could never bring herself to tell him that she was the one to give them to him. She was saddened when she found out Naruto had no friends or family. At the front gates of the village, Jiraiya had finally returned to the village after 10 years of being away. Damn it! How could I forget today was the 10th of October? I should just come back tomorrow or something. Jiraiya was about to leave again, when he saw a duplicate of the fourth Hokage walking down the street. The boy was trying to ask a pink-haired girl out on a date. Jiraiya jumped onto the rooftops to watch the scene unfold. After 5 minutes of watching Naruto, he noticed a young, indigo-haired girl following him. A Hyuga, he wondered, and then he saw the present in her hands. Well, it is the kid's birthday. I wonder how many friends he has. Jiraiya wondered. With Naruto, come on Sakura-chan. I'm paying. Naruto said with a smile. Never, the pink-haired banshee screamed, as she hit Naruto over the head with her fist. The people standing in the street smiled. They loved when the boy got beat up. Hinata frowned. She never understood why Sakura always hit him, or why the villagers seemed to hate him. Hinata sighed. Maybe she would at least talk to him this year or something. She hated how nervous she was around him. Jiraiya frowned when he saw what the pink-haired girl did. The boy only asked her out, and she hit him. That wasn't what upset him the most, though. It was the smirks the villagers had after she hit Naruto. He saw the pink-haired girl run off, leaving Naruto as he got up off the ground. He looked over at the young Hyuga girl and saw the concerned look on her face. I wonder why she hasn't gone to him yet? Jiraiya thought. He pondered for a minute before he realized that the girl must be very shy. Naruto looked at the time. His eyes grew wide, and he ran off like something was wrong. Jiraiya decided to follow him. He found that Naruto had rushed to his home and locked his door and all the shutters and things in his old rundown apartment. Jiraiya was completely confused by the actions Naruto was showing. Jiraiya was angered when he finally took a good look at the apartment. It had graffiti of the words "Die Demon" and various other phrases and some pictures. He looked to see the young girl walk up the stairs and drop the present at the front door. She had knocked once, and then ran off. Jiraiya watched as Naruto quickly unlocked the door and picked up the present, and saw the look in Naruto's eyes. The boy was overjoyed. Naruto quickly opened the present, his eyes lit up as he pulled out a frog wallet. He loved it. Last year, he got a sleeping cap, and before that, a small chest to hold personal items in. He was saddened when he found that the person who left the gift wasn't around once again. He was sad but also happy that he knew someone cared enough to remember his birthday, at least. Naruto heard some people walking down the street. He quickly closed the door and jumped out a window he had rigged to lock behind him. Jiraiya was still perplexed as to what Naruto was doing. Jiraiya summoned a small toad. "You stay here and watch the apartment and tell me what happens here while I'm gone." The toad nodded, and Jiraiya began to follow Naruto once again. Jiraiya somehow lost Naruto. How the heck did he get away from me? He wondered as he stood in the shadows of one of the buildings. Jiraiya decided to wait for Naruto to surface again, so he went off to a bar. Jiraiya sat in the bar drinking. He grew very angry at what he was hearing. "Have they found the demon child yet?" one person asked. "No. It seems like it will be another uneventful year," another replied. Jiraiya's glass shattered in his hand. If he didn't leave now, someone was going to die. The bartender told him to pay for what he broke until Jiraiya glared at him. The man just shrunk down into the bar. Jiraiya should go check in with the old man, but right now, he didn't even want to talk with him. He knew it. He should have just taken the boy with him the day he left the village. Jiraiya sighed. He heard cheers and laughing as the Kyubi festival began. He saw Hayashi and the small child from earlier walk next to him. "So it seems Hayashi's daughter is the one who has a crush on Naruto," Jiraiya said to himself. Jiraiya watched as Hayashi's daughter asked him something. He nodded, and she ran off in the direction of Naruto's apartment. A few minutes later, the toad Jiraiya had left at Naruto's apartment jumped down in front of him. "Jiraiya," Naruto returned to his apartment. Jiraiya nodded and jumped to the rooftops. He arrived at Naruto's home to see Naruto on the ground, being beaten, and the young Hyuga girl trying to help him, but she stood no chance against the two Chunin. Hinata was knocked away, but was caught by Jiraiya before she hit the ground. "Please stay here. I'll help the kid out," he said in a kind tone. She nodded in response. Naruto was conscious, but barely. All he saw before he blacked out was Hinata standing in front of him, trying to defend him. Jiraiya was beyond pissed. He wanted blood. He grabbed both Chunin by the back of their heads, one in each head, and began to smash their faces into the ground. "What the hell is wrong with you people?" With each word he smashed their faces into the ground and pulled them back out. Of course, by the time that was over, they were both unconscious, their faces bloodied and bruised. Jiraiya didn't care. He looked at the festival and threw them as hard as he could at the festival stands. The two went flying through the air. They knocked over 4 stands, 2 rides, and various other things. Jiraiya picked up the unconscious Naruto and walked over to Hinata. "Thank you for caring about him. Please don't tell anyone about that." Hinata nodded, then he shunted away. Just as Jiraiya left, 4 Umbu showed up. "What happened here?" one asked Hinata. She finally passed out from the events that had transpired. The Umbu with the dog mask picked up the young Hyuga heiress, and ordered the other 3 to take her home. Dog sighed, and went to report to the Hokage. In the Hokage's office, Dog appeared in the Hokage's office. "Naruto's apartment has been vandalized again, and 2 Chunin have been killed," Dog reported to the elder Hokage. Hiruzen sighed. "I see. Tell me why I always have to look after the boy. I mean, there are better things I could be doing with my time," Dog spoke casually. Hiruzen decided it was time he knew. He opened a drawer and showed Kakashi Naruto's birth certificate. "Why? Didn't you ever tell me?" Dog asked while taking off his mask. "Kakashi, you were a broken man after the Kyubi attacked. Jiraiya and I both thought it was best for you not to know." The aged Hokage stood up and walked over toward one of the windows. "I know I was in bad shape, but you still should have told me." "I had the right to know," he yelled. "Maybe you're right, but I can't do anything to change what has already happened. Now that you know the truth, you still, for the time being, cannot interact with Naruto or talk to him about his heritage. Am I understood?" Kakashi grumbled angrily. Of course, Hokage-sama. Not a word, venom dripped from every word. Kakashi may have been angry with the old man, but he would not disobey the order he was given. At Jiraiya's place, Jeriah sat next to a bed that he had laid Naruto down in, waiting for the boy to wake up. Naruto soon opened his eyes to see he was in a room on a bed. Well, look who finally woke up, Jiraiya said in a happy tone. Who are you? Naruto asked me. I'm the Toad Sage, Jiraiya, he said with a smile. Let me ask you a question. Do you have any dreams? Naruto shot out of bed. I want to become Hokage, he shouted. Jiraiya smiled. Why do you want to become Hokage? Jiraiya wanted to know if the boy was doing it for a good reason. I want to protect the village like the fourth Hokage, the boy exclaimed with a huge grin on his face. Naruto's face darkened a little. Then everyone will look up to me instead of down on me. Jiraiya seemed to smile and frown at the same time. Very well, kid. How about I teach you how to become a shinobi? Naruto looked at him, but I'm already going to the academy to become one. Jiraiya smiled. True, but I can teach you many things they never could. Plus, I trained the fourth Hokage, and you said you wanted to be Hokage, right? Naruto looked at him. His eyes were as wide as dinner plates. Of course I do. But what about becoming a ninja of the village? Jiraiya wasn't sure why he wanted to be a ninja of the village that hated him, but if Minato's son wanted to be Hokage, he would help him. I'll take care of that. I know the old man, but for the next 2 to 3 years or so, we will leave the village while I train you. I will even teach you some of the fourth's original techniques. Naruto thought about the offer. Even if the man was lying, his life wouldn't be any crappier than it was now. But if what this man said was true, he could be a strong ninja and achieve what he wanted to. He also remembered hearing something about a Toad Sage in class, although he wasn't really paying too much attention at the time. Alright, you have a deal. When do we leave? Tomorrow, but you can't tell anyone we're leaving. For now, not even the Hokage will know you're gone, and when they do find out you're missing, well, they will most likely think you ran away, Jiraiya explained. So I can't tell anyone? He saw Jiraiya shake his head. Naruto looked down as he thought about it. So I can't even tell Irika? He asked. Sorry, kid. I want the Hokage to squirm for a bit, so you can't tell Irika, because he will tell the Hokage. He's the only person you wanted to tell? Yeah, other than the people at Ichiraku's, there really isn't anyone else. Naruto sat there with a sad look on his face. Jiraiya frowned. That's not true, kid. There's one very nice girl who will miss you. Jiraiya exclaimed, as he thought back to Hinata, who had followed him around and even left him that present. Heck, she even tried to defend him from a pair of chunin. You mean Sakura-chan? Naruto asked. Jiraiya scowled. No, I don't mean her. What do you see in her anyhow? All I've seen her do to you was hit you, quite hard, I might add, Jiraiya said. Naruto thought about it. He truly didn't know what he saw in her, now that he thought about it. All she did was yell at him and hit him a lot. She was popular, sure, and kind of pretty. She also got lots of attention, so he guessed he was doing it to get noticed by everyone. Of course, she hated him, so that wasn't going to happen. Well, now that I think about it, I guess I was just doing it to get noticed because people liked her. He replied, but who are you talking about? Naruto asked. I'm talking about the same girl that gave you that present. Naruto looked at his toad wallet. She's in your ninja class, too, Jiraiya continued. Naruto thought about it. The only girl who was never mean to him was Hinata. Well, Hinata was never mean to me, but she never talks to me either. I thought she hated me, Naruto said in a low voice. Kid, that's what we like to call extremely shy. Just talk to her tomorrow or something during class, and see what happens. I'm not saying you should go out with her right off the bat, just talk to her, Jiraiya explained. Jiraiya smiled. How about this? You can tell Hinata you will be leaving the village for 2 to 3 years, and see the reaction on her face. Maybe then you'll understand, Jiraiya stated as he stood up. Naruto was a 10-year-old child. He really didn't understand what Jiraiya meant, but he would give it a try anyhow. Wait, what about Iruka or the old man? The old man was supposed to be looking after you for me and he failed. So right now, I just want him to sweat for the few years you're gone. Also, sorry to say this Naruto, but Iruka would tell the old man in a heartbeat even if you asked him not to. Now get some sleep, Naruto. I need to go handle a few things before tomorrow, Jiraiya said, then shined away. Naruto got back into the rather conformable bed, and fell asleep. The next day at the academy, it was lunchtime at the academy, and Naruto had yet to talk with Hinata. Naruto finally decided to go over and talk to her. He closed his eyes, thinking about when he was attacked last night, and then his eyes shot open. Wait a minute. Hinata was there trying to help me, he said out loud, scaring some of the kids near him. Naruto walked over to Hinata, who looked extremely nervous. Hi, Hinata. Thanks for trying to help me out last night, Naruto said. He was nervous, but wasn't sure why. Hinata blushed. Naruto was talking to her, and she was too nervous to say anything. Naruto sat next to her. I'm going to be leaving the village soon, Naruto whispered, and then saw the look on her face go from embarrassed to extremely worried. I guess she really does care, he thought to himself. It will only be for 2 to 3 years, so I'll be back to graduate from the academy. I'm going to go train with the Toad Sage, Jiraiya, he said with his trademark grin. Hinata had seen pictures of the man in a book once. So, you're coming back then? Hinata asked. She was really sad that Naruto was going to be gone for so long. Yep, he replied. When I get back, would you like to grab a bite to eat sometime? Naruto asked. Hinata looked at him, and smiled. Sure. I'd love to, Naruto-kun. But you can't tell anyone I'm leaving. Promise you won't tell anyone, Naruto pleaded. Hinata agreed to not tell, and the two went back to class. The rest of the day went by quickly. Everyone was amazed that Naruto didn't talk to Sakura at all, he never even looked at her. Naruto arrived back at his apartment to find that all he had for personal items were gone, but he saw a note on his bed. Hey, Naruto. I've already gathered your things. Just meet me back at my place. Naruto smiled. On his way home he looked up the man called Jiraiya and found he was telling the truth about himself. Naruto was excited he was going to be trained and even learn some of the fourth's jutsu. He made sure he wasn't being followed as he made his way to Jiraiya's place. He knocked on Jiraiya's door, and it opened. Ah, good. You're here. We should just leave now, then, Jiraiya said with a smile. You were right about Hinata. She did seem to care, Naruto said, feeling stupid that he never noticed. Also, the fact that she had gotten him presents for years and he never got her anything didn't help. Jiraiya laughed. Don't feel bad, Naruto. I'm older. It's just easier for me to notice these kinds of things, Jiraiya said reassuringly. Now stand here next to me. Jiraiya did a few hand seals, and they both disappeared from the room and the village entirely. Off in Myoboken, Naruto and Jiraiya reappeared in Myoboken. Fukasaku, an elderly toad, greeted them. Welcome, Jiraiya and his young guest, to Myoboken, home of the Toad clan. Naruto freaked out. What? A talking toad, he exclaimed. Jiraiya laughed. He had forgotten to tell Naruto where they were going. Yep, talking toads, but this place is where we will live and train for the next few years, Naruto, Jiraiya stated as Gamakichi hopped over. Hey, who's the new guy? Gamakichi asked. Fukasaku looked at the young toad. This is Naruto Uzumaki. He is Jiraiya's new student. He will be staying here for the next 2 to 3 years, training, and may even be the successor to the Toad contract, he explained to the young toad. Gamakichi smiled, satisfied with the answer, and hopped off to go play. Hey, Naruto, why don't you look around? Fukasaku and I need to talk about a few things, Jiraiya stated. Naruto smiled and ran off to go look around. I'm going to be teaching him everything I can, Fukasaku. Yes, I understand that, Jiraiya, but why is he here? What happened? Fukasaku asked. Jiraiya began to explain what had happened in the village and to Naruto. The elder toad was furious, to say the least. You should have finished the job the fox started, Jiraiya, the old toad muttered angrily. Jiraiya nodded, agreeing with the old sage. Yeah, but the kid wants to be Hokage, and a ninja of the village still. I'm going to help him. Please don't tell him about Kyuubi or who his parents are. I don't think he's old enough to understand why Minato did it, Jiraiya finished. He wasn't happy about keeping something like from the boy, but he really didn't know how Naruto would react. Very well, Jiraiya. Train him as much as you can, but nothing too dangerous, Fukasaku said just as they saw Naruto coming back from looking around. So, did you have fun looking around? The elder toad asked. Yeah. It's great around here. So when can we start training? Naruto asked, wanting to start right now. Jiraiya laughed. Not today, Naruto. We'll start in the morning, I'll show you to your room, and then you can go play with Gamakichi for a while after. I'll start writing your training schedule down, Jiraiya said with a smile on his face. 2 days later in the Ninja Academy, Iruka was watching all his students walk in to begin class. Naruto's not here again. Something must be wrong, he thought. Mizuki, take over for me. I have to go check something out, Mizuki nodded. Iruka left the classroom. He headed directly for Naruto's apartment. He arrived at Naruto's apartment, he walked up to the door and knocked on it, but no one answered. He checked the door knob, it was unlocked. That's strange, Iruka thought. Iruka walked into Naruto's apartment. He looked around to find all of Naruto's personal items and cloths missing. This isn't good. I have to go inform the Hokage of this, Iruka said in a panicked voice. Iruka ran across the rooftops as fast as he could so he could inform the Hokage of what he found. Iruka arrived at the Hokage tower. Instead of using a door, he decided to use the window. Hokage-sama, Naruto is missing, Iruka shouted. Calm down, Iruka. What makes you think he's missing? Hiruzen asked. I was just at his apartment. All his personal items were gone. All there was left was the furniture, Iruka explained in a worried voice. Hiruzen's eyes widened. Iruka, call the council together, you have 5 minutes. Iruka bowed and left quickly to assemble the council. Dog, I need you to go search the village for any traces of Naruto, Hiruzen ordered. Dog appeared in the room and bowed. He left the room to do as he was ordered. The old Hokage got out of his seat and headed off to the council chamber. Just as Iruka was ordered, he assembled the council within 5 minutes. Iruka stood before the council and explained why he thought Naruto was missing. Dog appeared in the room with one of his dag summons named Pakken. The aged Hokage sighed. What did you find? He asked. I went to Naruto's apartment. Just as Iruka said. It seems all his personal items are gone. I called Pakken here to get his scent, but it doesn't lead anywhere outside of the village. It seems he's not in the village either, Dog finished. Everyone started to talk amongst themselves. One of the civilian council members stood up. We should send out Hunter Ninja right away. The other civilian council members agreed. So did Danzu, Hamura, and Koharu. No, but the Inuzuka should search for him. He's an invaluable asset to this village, after all, Hiruzen announced. Of course. The Inazuka clan will begin immediately, Tsum Inazuka announced as she left to gather her trackers. Hayashi, please have some of your clan make a sweep of the village just to be sure he is not still here. As you wish, Hokage-sama, Hayashi replied. Hayashi left to go gather a few Hyuga members to begin their sweep of the village. Hayashi hated the boy, but he wasn't about to share his opinions to anyone, so he did as instructed. Well, if none of you have anything else to add, this emergency meeting is adjourned, Hiruzen announced. No one said anything as they all began to slowly leave the room. The clan heads never hated Naruto. They all honestly thought his life would have been better if he left the village, but orders are orders. 3 clan heads remained. They were talking about Naruto. They hadn't noticed the Hokage was still sitting in his seat. Honestly, I hope we don't find him. Those civilian council members, along with the other 3 old prunes, make his life miserable, Shikaku Nara said casually to his friends Inoichi Yamanaka and Chuza Akimichi. Yes. That certain event took many lives from all our clans, but that's no reason to take it out on the boy, Inoichi added. They all turned when they heard someone getting out of their seat. The third stood up, the 3 of you are right. It is no reason to take it out on the boy, but that is what fear, anger, and grief can do to people, the Hokage said as he began to walk slowly out of the room. He was clearly upset by Naruto's disappearance. At the academy, Irika came back into the classroom to announce Naruto's disappearance. Most of them were shocked Naruto was missing. Others like Sasuke Uchiha and his fangirls were indifferent. Irika looked around the room until his eyes landed Hinata. He knew she had a crush on the blonde knucklehead. Hinata was depressed. She knew Naruto had left 4 days ago, but not having Naruto around made everything so depressing and gloomy. She was so happy the other day that he talked to her, but then it sank in that he was leaving for up to 3 years. Most people in the class began to talk about Naruto. They never thought he would run away. Hinata wanted to say something, but she promised she wouldn't. Off in Myoboken, Naruto had left the village with Jiraiya a week ago now. He was currently working on the clone technique, but wasn't having too much success with it. Jiraiya watched as Naruto tried repeatedly, but the clone always popped into existence as some diseased-looking Naruto. Jiraiya couldn't understand why it always appeared that way. Naruto was doing everything right, but that always happened. So Fukasaku, what do you think? Jiraiya asked the elder toad sitting next to him. Have you tried a technique that uses more chakra? He may just not be able to control something that uses so little chakra at the present time, the elder toad suggested. Jiraiya thought about it. It didn't exactly make sense, but there wasn't any harm in trying. Jiraiya dug through his pack to see what other clone techniques he had. Shadow clones. If he can master this, it should help in his training, Jiraiya thought. Yo, Naruto. Come here for a sec. We're going to take a different approach, he yelled so Naruto could hear him. Naruto ran over to Jiraiya. A new jutsu. Naruto screamed. He was overjoyed. Yes. This is a more difficult jutsu than the normal clone jutsu. It's called Shadow Clone, Jiraiya explained. Now the Shadow Clone jutsu is different from normal clones, because it can create a solid clone that can attack and use jutsu just like you. Now study the scroll and practice till you get it down. If you need help, Fukasaku and I will be right here to help you, Jiraiya finished with a smile on his face. Awesome. I'll start right now. Naruto yelled and ran off to the open field to start. The two sat there and watched. They found Naruto's enthusiasm refreshing. Fukasaku was amazed the boy could be so happy and able to enjoy life, even after all the things he heard Naruto had gone through while in the Leaf Village. It's amazing how happy that boy can be after all the crap he's had to go through, the elder toad stated as he took a sip of his tea. Yeah, I know. I don't think anyone could say they could stay that cheerful after dealing with what he has, Jiraiya replied. Or sane, the elder toad added, getting a nod from Jiraiya. The two sat there for the next few hours, watching the boy trying to learn the jutsu. Naruto came running over to them, happier than ever. I did it. I learned the jutsu. Naruto exclaimed while jumping in the air. Jiraiya smiled. Good, now show us, Jiraiya replied. Naruto smiled and made the hand sign required. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Next to Naruto, a clone popped into existence. Very good. Now show me how many you can make at one time, Jiraiya said. Naruto was more than happy to. Multi-shadow clone. Jutsu. Naruto exclaimed. A giant cloud of smoke appeared, and once it cleared, Jiraiya and Fukasaku were clearly amazed by the sheer number of clones. There were about 1,500 Naruto clones staring back at them, each with a grin on its face. My word, Jiraiya. I've never seen someone create so many shadow clones at one time, the elder frog said, his mouth hanging open. I don't think anyone has, Jiraiya replied. This is going to be a long 3 years, Jiraiya, the elder frog sage said. Jiraiya nodded in response. Almost 3 years later Naruto and Jiraiya sat on a log at Myoboken, eating. Well Naruto, you've done well since you came here. I taught you like I promised, and you mastered everything I taught you, Jiraiya stated in a pleased tone. Yeah. I can't wait to show everyone what I can do. Naruto exclaimed. Jiraiya laughed. Sorry, kid, but you can't just go showing off everything I taught you. At least not just yet. But pervy sage, why not? Naruto whined. Gamakichi and Fukasaku, who were sitting next to the two, began to roll over laughing. My, that's the perfect nickname for you, Jiraiya. Fukasaku exclaimed, trying to get his laughter under control. Because I said so, Naruto. You can use some of the ninjutsu I taught you, including the shadow clones, but not the Rasengan. Got it? Jiraiya asked, trying to ignore Gamakichi and Fukasaku, who were still laughing. But what if I have no other choice? Naruto replied. Well, if you find yourself in a situation where there's no other choice, I guess then, but other than then, not until I say so, Jiraiya said in a stern tone. Fine, Naruto replied. Naruto couldn't understand why Jiraiya didn't want him to show off what he had learned. Good. We'll be returning home within the week, since the academy has its graduation exam soon, Jiraiya stated. Naruto smiled. He was excited to be going back home, but the thought of becoming a ninja of the village wasn't the first thing on his mind when he thought about returning to the village. Back in the village Hinata sighed. It had almost been 3 years now, since Naruto had left, and she was growing worried that he wouldn't come back. She looked up to see Kiba walking up to her, no doubt to ask her on a date once again. Hey, Hinata, want to go on a date sometime? Kiba asked. Sorry, Kiba. I like you, but as a friend, nothing more, Hinata replied in a sweet tone, trying not to hurt his feelings. Kiba sighed, yeah, I know, but a guy can dream, can't he? Kiba chuckled. He knew she was going to say no again, but that never stopped him from trying. Class was finally over and Hinata walked to the Hyuga estate. She walked down the streets and alleyways of the village until she arrived at the Hyuga compound. Hinata never really liked this place. Most of the Hyuga main branch hated her for her kindness. They found it to be an unnecessary weakness. Hinata was depressed, she had been thrown aside by her father. He had given up on training her, in favor of her little sister, Hanabi. In Myoboken Naruto was in his room, thinking about the Kyuubi. Jiraiya had told him a year ago about why the villagers hated him so much, but he had yet to actually talk with the so-called beast. I wonder how I could actually talk with the Kyuubi anyhow. Naruto thought. Just as Naruto finished that thought, he was dragged away from reality and into his mind, where he appeared in front of a gigantic gate. "Welcome to my humble abode," the giant fox bellowed. "So, you're the fox that made my life hell?" Naruto said to the giant fox. The giant fox laughed. "That I am. Why is it you wish to speak with me?" the giant fox asked. "Well, since you're stuck inside me, I thought, why not talk to you?" Naruto said as he sat down in front of the cage. Naruto had heard that the Kyuubi was a frightening demon, but he didn't seem all that bad. The giant fox found this boy intriguing. The boy meant what he said. There was no hint of a lie within his voice. It threw the fox for a loop. The Kyuubi laid down in his giant cage to be at eye level with the boy. "So, you just wish to get to know me? Why is that? I made your life hell, yet you wish to get to know me?" the fox asked, truly not understanding. "Yeah. Is there something wrong with that?" Naruto asked. "No, nothing," the giant fox laughed. "You're quite an interesting child, Naruto. I've met and killed many of your kind, but you are the first to make me rethink my view of humans as being nothing more than leeches upon this world. Take the people in your village, for instance. They should view you as a hero, yet they see you as nothing more than me in disguise. However, you still wish to protect them and become the Hokage of the village." The Kyuubi stopped his rant to rethink the last part. "Well, I shouldn't make it sound as if everyone thinks that. There are a few who view you as the jailer and not me. Yet, they would never actually try and causally talk to me, like you are," the fox said. He was truly intrigued by this boy. The fox was beginning to like the boy who was his prison, even if he has only talked to the boy for a short time. "So, Fox, why does this place look like some crappy sewer?" Naruto asked. "How should I know? It's your mind," the fox chuckled humorously. "Now it's time for you to go." "I need time to think," the demon fox said as he pushed Naruto out of his mindscape and back into reality. "That boy looks just like the man who sealed me. I wonder," the fox said to himself before closing his eyes and falling asleep. In the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen was busy looking through the genin that had a chance to make it through the final exams, but he was coming up one short for 3 full teams. He had a request in that Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru be put on one team, but that still left him with 5. He knew the council would be in an uproar if Sasuke, the last of the Uchiha, didn't have a full team. "Well, I guess it will be Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba as their tracker then," Hiruzen mumbled to himself. He was left with a dilemma. He still had Hinata Hyuga and Shino Aburame. Hiruzen sighed. "Well, I'll just deal with this on the day of the exams," the aging Hokage said to himself. Hiruzen put the file away in his desk drawer. He saw the picture of Naruto he always kept in his desk. "Things were so much brighter around here when you were around, Naruto," Hiruzen thought. Off at the memorial stone, Kakashi stood at the memorial stone, just thinking about his past. He had quit being commander of the ANBU Black Ops almost a year ago now. Kakashi sighed. He thought back to the day he had found out about Naruto being Minato's son. Kakashi had mixed emotions when he found out, but he was angrier than anything at the third Hokage for not telling him sooner. Kakashi had planned to get to know the boy a bit better when he had some free time, but the boy disappeared without a trace. Kakashi bowed. "Sorry, sensei. Seems like I messed up again." Kakashi shined away to pick up his next mission from the Hokage, who said he had a special assignment for him. Kakashi appeared in the Hokage's office. "You're late, Kakashi," Hiruzen said to the one-eyed Jounin. "Yeah. Sorry about that. Now what was this special assignment you need me for?" Kakashi asked. Hiruzen knew Kakashi was not going to want to take this assignment, but the council had been adamant about Kakashi taking this assignment. "Kakashi, your assignment is to be the leader of Team 7, Hiruzen said as he handed him a file with the names of the genin in it. Kakashi sighed. Do I get a choice in the matter? He asked. Sorry Kakashi, you don't, Hiruzen replied. Kakashi sighed. He really didn't want to take on a genin team, but he would just have to deal with it. In Myoboken, hey, pervy sage, why don't we give the old man a scare when we get back? Naruto suggested. Jiraiya smirked. Well, kid, what you have in mind? Jiraiya asked. Jiraiya wanted to get back at Hiruzen for not taking care of Naruto like he should have. Well, since I have the Kyuubi in me, why don't I use a transformation jutsu and add foxtails and ears? I'm sure that will scare crap out of him. Naruto explained what he wanted to do. Naruto. That's brilliant. Jiraiya shouted. We'll work for the next 4 days to make sure it's perfect. Jiraiya exclaimed. He was really going to enjoy his old sensei's reaction. Even the Kyuubi thought the idea of Naruto transforming and appearing in front of the Hokage with fox features was brilliant. Naruto started right away on getting his transformation jutsu down to scare the old man. Later that week, in the village, Hinata was sitting in her room. She couldn't sleep. Her thoughts were fixated on Naruto. He was supposed to be home by now. He said he would be back before the genin exams. Hinata couldn't take it anymore. She was going to talk to the Hokage about Naruto. Hinata quietly sneaked out her window, and out of the Hyuga compound, to go speak with the Hokage. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office it was late. Most of the people at the Hokage tower had already gone home for the night, but Hiruzen still had some paperwork to finish. Hiruzen was tired. He had been going over paperwork for the upcoming Chunin exams this year. He was still racking his brain for how he was going to fill the empty spot in the genin teams. Just then, 2 people appeared in the room in a cloud of smoke. Once the smoke cleared, he saw Jiraiya and, his brain stopped completely when he saw Naruto with fox ears and tails waving in the air. The aging Hokage hit the floor with a thud. Jiraiya was laughing so hard, he felt like he was going to die. Jiraiya walked over to the 3rd Hokage's desk and looked behind it. I think you killed him, Naruto. Naruto undid the transformation. I didn't kill him. Naruto whined as he went over to check the old man's pulse. See? He's just unconscious. Naruto exclaimed, glad that he didn't kill the old man. Naruto could hear the fox laughing in his mind. Naruto and Jiraiya sat around, waiting for the old man to wake up. The old Hokage began to stir. Oh, my head, Hiruzen muttered as he got up to see Jiraiya and a smiling Naruto that didn't have any fox features. Hiruzen glared at Jiraiya. So he was with you the entire time? The old man said. He was clearly angry. Yep, and he was safer with me than he was here in this village, getting beaten up outside his own apartment. Jiraiya shot back. The old Hokage looked down in shame. So then, why are you back? He asked. Well, believe it or not, the kid said he wants to become Hokage. He has to finish the academy to do that, and if I'm not mistaken, it ends tomorrow, Jiraiya replied. Just then, the door to the Hokage's office opened, and Hinata Hyuga walked in. Naruto hadn't seen her in years. He quickly ran over and hugged her, not thinking about his actions. Naruto-kun is hugging me, was all that ran through the young girl's mind before she passed out. He's a lady killer already. Jiraiya exclaimed proudly. Naruto was utterly confused. Why did Hinata-chan pass out? The 2 elder ninja laughed at the rather cute scene before them. Whenever that boy is around, everything seems so much less serious, Jiraiya thought. So, old man, will there be any problem with him taking the genin exams tomorrow? Jiraiya asked. Before Hiruzen could answer, Jiraiya turned to Naruto. Could you wait outside for me, Naruto? And take Hinata with you. Naruto nodded and picked Hinata up bridal style. See you in a bit, old man, Naruto said as he walked out the door. The boy seems a bit more mature than he did before. I hope he didn't turn into a pervert like yourself, Hiruzen said. Jiraiya laughed. No, but he found my books and nicknamed me Pervy Sage. Hiruzen laughed. Jokes aside, how would you rank his abilities? Hiruzen asked. To be completely honest, I don't really know anymore. He's been hiding what he can really do, and what he's mastered. Jiraiya replied. Well, no matter, it's really not that important, I suppose. Flashback: Naruto had just finished replacing the contents of one of Gamabunta's sake drums with salt water. Naruto laughed as he sat a good distance away on a hill, waiting for Gamabunta to get some sake. Naruto didn't have to wait long, seeing as Gamabunta always drank some sake around this time of day. Naruto began to count down, 5, 4, 3, 2. Naruto didn't get to finish as he heard Gamabunta yell. What the hell is this? Salt water? Naruto! Gamabunta roared. Naruto decided to make himself scarce for the next few days. Jiraiya had been watching this entire incident unfold. He couldn't help but laugh. End of flashback. Jiraiya shuddered as he remembered how pissed off the Toad boss was for the next few days. So you took him to Myoboken. I see. So he can probably summon toads now as well? Jiraiya nodded at Hiruzen's assessment. Anyhow, about Naruto taking the exams tomorrow? Jiraiya asked again. If he's been training with you for almost 3 years, I don't see why not. Although the council will probably be causing me headaches over this, Hiruzen said, somewhat irritated. Wouldn't be the first time, old man, Jiraiya replied. With Naruto was waiting outside the Hokage's office on a bench, holding an unconscious Hinata. He looked down at her. She looked so peaceful. I wonder if she really does like me as more than a friend, Naruto thought out loud. Idiot. Of course she likes you as more than a friend. She's been following you for years, the fox said in an irritated tone. How would you know? Naruto asked the fox. Because I can hear and see what you do, and sometimes more than you dense idiot, the fox replied. Don't call me an idiot, you stupid fox. Naruto retorted. Then don't act like one, the fox said as he closed his eyes and went back to sleep. Dumb fox, Naruto mumbled. Naruto was pulled from his thoughts when Hinata began to stir. Hey, Hinata, Naruto had a big smile on his face. Hinata shot up. She was really nervous. So, Hinata? Still want to get a bite to eat sometime? Naruto asked. Hinata had a light pink blush. Sure, Naruto-kun, she replied. Little did the two know, Jiraiya and the third Hokage were watching the two talk the entire time. Hiruzen coughed, making their presence known. Glad to see you have a girlfriend, Naruto, but I think it would be best if you two kept your relationship a secret from the rest of the village, especially her clan, Hiruzen said. What Hiruzen said made both children blush. Naruto sort of understood what the old man was getting at, but Hinata didn't, although secretly dating her crush sounded exciting. Well, Naruto, you're all set to take the Genin exam tomorrow, Jiraiya said. Naruto was very excited. He jumped in the air. Hinata smiled at his enthusiasm. Now, Hinata, you'd best be getting home. It's late, Hiruzen said to the young girl. I'll walk her home, Naruto offered. Hinata blushed. Naruto's going to walk me home? Hinata thought excitedly. By the way, Naruto, your apartment has been kept up with, so it's ready for you at any time. Naruto smiled at hearing he still had a place to live. All right. Later, old man. Naruto said before leaving the room with Hinata. Well, I think tomorrow is going to be rather interesting, don't you? Jiraiya said. Yes, I suppose it will, Hiruzen said with a scowl on his face. Why did you say those two had to keep their relationship a secret, old man? Jiraiya said, not completely understanding. Hinata's clan hates Naruto. So does her father, Hayashi. He can hide it from everyone else, but I can see the very subtle hints he gives. Hiruzen sighed. It's not Naruto I'm worried about, though, it's Hinata. I wouldn't put it past Hayashi and the clan elders to do something to her if they ever found out she was dating Naruto. You really think Hayashi would hurt his own daughter for something like that? Jiraiya asked. I'm afraid he's that type of man, yes, and until he does something, I cannot interfere in their clan business, Hiruzen replied. With Naruto and Hinata were walking down the streets of the village. It was late, so there was really no one out. While the two walked, Naruto told Hinata some of the stuff he did while in Myoboken. Hinata giggled when Naruto told her about his prank on Gamabunta, where he changed out his sake with salt water. Oh, and then me and Gamakichi hid all his sake. He got really angry at us for that, Naruto said. Hinata giggled some more. She really enjoyed hearing about Naruto's pranks. Hinata noticed they were coming into view of Hyuga compound. She turned around to Naruto. Thanks for walking me home, Naruto-kun, Hinata said. She kissed him on the cheek, and quickly ran off to her home before Naruto could say anything. Naruto blushed and rubbed his cheek. He smiled before turning around to head to his apartment. Naruto walked back to his apartment in silence. He couldn't get Hinata out of his mind. Naruto arrived at his apartment. While the old man had the place cleaned up for me, Naruto said aloud. Naruto was amazed. He had never seen the place look so clean before. All the graffiti was gone. Naruto walked up to the door and opened it with his old key. The place was a little dusty, but that wasn't anything he couldn't fix. Naruto went to the back of his apartment to find his small garden was dead. Well, I guess it was a bit much to expect those things to still be alive, Naruto thought. Naruto unpacked most of his things and put them away. He was happy to be back home, but also sad. He was going to have to deal with the villagers again. At least now, he would be a ninja of the village, and he now had a girlfriend, or at least a very good friend. Naruto woke up. It was time to go to the academy to be placed on a genin team. He was so excited. Naruto was getting ready, when he heard a knock on the door. I wonder who that could be? Naruto said aloud. Naruto opened the door to see Jiraiya standing there with the third Hokage. The third Hokage smiled. He had just finished the council meeting regarding Naruto's return to the village. Needless to say, some were less than pleased, but they decided to keep their traps shut for once. Flashback, why have you called us here so early in the morning? One of the civilian council members asked. I've called the village council here today to tell you all that Naruto Uzumaki has returned to the village, Hiruzen announced. Everyone just stared at the third Hokage. They had sent out who knows how many teams to find and bring that boy back, and he just returns on his own without even being noticed. Danzu was the first to speak. I assume you will tell us where the boy has been for almost 3 years? Jiraiya made his presence known. The boy was with me. I decided to train him since you people didn't seem to care about his well-being. Hiruzen held up his hand to stall any questions. He did it without my knowledge as well, but he is a Sannin. He has the right and privilege to train who he wants, when he wants, if the other party accepts. Yes, and Naruto was more than happy to accept my training, Jiraiya added. The council could say nothing in objection to Jiraiya's actions. Hiruzen was correct, the title of Sannin had many privileges associated with it. One of the civilian council stood up. Why didn't you train Sasuke Uchiha? He must surely have more potential than that child, he asked, not wanting to anger any of the Shinobi council with the demon brat comment. Heh, I doubt it, Jiraiya replied, blowing off the council member. Now that you know Naruto has returned to the village and no one seems to wish to argue his return, we will adjourn. Unless you have something else to discuss while we're here? Hiruzen said as he looked around the room, but no one said anything. Hiruzen looked around to see many displeased looks. Even Hayashi had a displeased look, but only for a second before he went back to his normal expressionless face. End of flashback. Hiruzen was still surprised they didn't put up too much of a fuss when he announced Naruto had come back to the village, although he had conveniently forgot to tell them Naruto was going to be a ninja of the village. Jiraiya looked into Naruto's apartment. The furniture was not great and it was a tad bit run down. He planned to fix that later. So, what brings you guys here? Naruto asked the third Hokage and pervy sage. Well, we just got done with the council meeting and we decided to walk with you to the academy and to make sure there were no problems with you taking the Genin exams, Jiraiya explained with a smile on his face. Oh, alright, cool. Let me just get my things, Naruto said in a happy tone as he ran off to get his things. Naruto came out 2 minutes later. He had changed from his sleeping clothes into a new orange jumpsuit. The three of them began to walk down the streets of Konoha. Jiraiya and Hiruzen both noticed the stares Naruto received. The atmosphere was filled with hate for the boy, yet he didn't seem affected in the least. Naruto, don't you care that they stare at you like that? Jiraiya asked. Not really. It's been going on for so long that it just doesn't bother me anymore, Naruto replied. Both Jiraiya and Hiruzen sighed. The boy didn't even care about them hating him, it's gone on so long. Jiraiya smiled, Naruto, if you're going to be a ninja of this village, we need to get some new clothes for you, other than that kill me now orange jumpsuit you wear all the time. But I like this jumpsuit, Naruto said in protest. Nope. We're getting you a new outfit before we get to the academy, Jiraiya said with no room for an argument. Naruto sighed. Fine, Naruto said. The three of them walked to the best ninja clothing store in town. Naruto walked into the store. The owner was about to yell at the boy to get out, but held his tongue when Jiraiya and the third Hokage walked in. Jiraiya saw that the man was about to yell at the boy. He quietly walked over to the man while Naruto looked at different clothes. The boy will be getting some clothes from your store. Understood? Jiraiya said in a low, threatening tone. The man nodded out of fear. Good. Glad to see you're not stupid, Jiraiya said with a smile. He walked back over to Hiruzen and Naruto. Naruto was currently looking at 2 pairs of navy blue pants similar to that of a jounin, a black long-sleeve t-shirt, and a black short-sleeve t-shirt. Can I get these? Naruto asked, handing him the pants and the 2 shirts. Jiraiya looked at the price. It was rather expensive, but as long as it got him out of the kill me now orange jumpsuit, the cost didn't matter. Sure. Anything else, Naruto? Jiraiya asked, while looking at the time. Yeah, I want a long-sleeve t-shirt just like this, but add a red whirlpool design on the back, kind of like the one on my jumpsuit, Naruto responded. Sure, I'll go talk to the owner and have it made, Jiraiya said while grabbing the clothes Naruto picked out so he could make the purchase. At least it gets him out of that jumpsuit, Jiraiya thought. Jiraiya explained to the man what he wanted made. The store owner didn't like it, but did as he was asked. He would have it done in an hour. Alright. We might as well wait for the clothes. They'll be done in an hour, Jiraiya explained. Very well. The exams don't end till noon, Hiruzen said as he sat down on a bench. At the academy Irika was doing his final lecture for the class, and everyone was doing their best to try and listen. Hinata, on the other hand, wasn't listening to him. She was off in her own little world at the moment. Everyone in class had seen her mood change from yesterday. They couldn't figure out what made her so happy compared to other days. Kiba had tried asking her, but she wouldn't say anything. Alright, class. We'll start finals. You will each make as many clones as you can, then do a transformation jutsu. Now who will be first? Irika said. Sasuke was the first to stand. He just wanted to get this over with. He walked to the front of the class and did the necessary hand signs for the clone jutsu. 5 perfect clones appeared. Sasuke dismissed the clones and transformed into Iruka. Very good, Sasuke. You pass, Iruka stated, not very surprised. Ino and Sakura cheered their crush on. With Naruto just got his shirt from the store owner. He was ecstatic, he liked his new look. Naruto now wore his navy blue pants and his black long-sleeve t-shirt with the red whirlpool design on it. Jiraiya sat on a bench with Hiruzen. Well, the kid looks just like his old man now with that get-up. All he needs now is a cloak to go with it, Jiraiya said, so only Hiruzen could hear. Indeed he does. When it comes time to tell him, how do you think he'll react? Hiruzen asked. Good question. I'm not sure. I just hope he doesn't get too mad at us or his old man for it, Jiraiya replied. Naruto ran over to them. Come on. Let's go already. Naruto shouted impatiently. The 2 elder shinobi laughed. Alright, but let's not walk, Jiraiya suggested. Naruto smiled and shined. Jiraiya and Hiruzen did the same. The 3 of them appeared in front of the door to Naruto's old classroom. Hey guys! Naruto shouted as he opened the door. Everyone just stared at him, not saying a word. For once, everyone in the class was speechless. What? No, hi, how are you, where have you been? Thought you were dead, comments? Naruto asked, but he still got no answer. Kiba, finally getting over his shock for not seeing Naruto in a few years, decided to make a comment. You can't be Naruto. You're not wearing your Kill Me Now orange jumpsuit. Kiba shouted. Was it really that bad? Naruto mumbled to himself. Iruka walked over to Naruto. Glad to see you're back. So, Naruto, where have you been for almost 3 years? He's been with me, Jiraiya stated. Oh, Master Jiraiya. I see, so you were training him this whole time? Iruka asked. Yeah. He could probably beat the pants off the Uchiha kid over there, Jiraiya said, wanting to see the kid's reaction. Yeah, right. Once a baka, always a baka, Sasuke replied. Naruto didn't even pay attention to Sasuke's words, which in turn irritated the last of the Uchiha. Sasuke hated being ignored, but before he could say anything, Jiraiya spoke. See, old man? That's why I could never train that kid. I could never train a self-centered brat, Jiraiya said casually to Hiruzen. Sasuke glared at Jiraiya, but the Toad Sage paid no attention to the self-centered child. Will there be a problem with Naruto taking the finals today, Iruka? Hiruzen asked. No, not if he's been training with Master Jiraiya. I don't even see why he even has to take the Genin exam. Iruka replied. Well, honestly, I don't either, but Naruto here prefers it this way, Hiruzen said. Naruto smiled. Yeah, so what do I have to do? Naruto asked excitedly. Well, it's fairly simple. Just show me how many clones you can make and do a transformation jutsu, Iruka replied with a smile. Naruto smiled. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. A massive cloud of smoke filled the room. Unbeknownst to everyone, Naruto, in the middle of the smoke cloud, dropped a note in Hinata's lap. The smoke cleared, and Iruka and the rest of the class were baffled. There were Naruto clones filling every empty seat, along with the walls and ceiling. Shadow clones, Iruka thought. Hinata looked in her lap to see the note Naruto left her. She opened the note. Meet me at Training Ground 15 around 4 p.m., Hinata blushed and quickly put away the note before anyone noticed. Naruto dismissed the clones and was now ready to perform a transformation jutsu. Naruto transformed into the 4th Hokage. Iruka never realized just how much those two looked alike until just now. Well, Naruto, I have to say, you pass with flying colors. Iruka announced, tossing Naruto a headband. Hey, wait. Why does he get special treatment? Sasuke shouted. Jiraiya laughed at Sasuke. You're honestly going to bring up the subject of special treatment, O king of the spoiled? Almost everyone in the class laughed at Sasuke. They knew as well as he did that he got a lot of special treatment. Iruka coughed in his hand to grab everyone's attention. Now tomorrow, you will come to see what teams why. Hiruzen cut off Iruka. Actually, Iruka, I have the team assignments right here, Hiruzen said, handing him the team assignment. Oh. I'll just do this now, then. Team 7 is Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, and Sakura Haruno. Your Jounin sensei is Kakashi Hatake, Iruka announced. Sakura cheered while Kiba and Ino groaned, both for different, but obvious reasons. Team 8 is Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, and Naruto Uzumaki. Your Jounin sensei is Kurenai Yuhi, Iruka announced. Naruto smiled, Shino nodded, and Hinata almost passed out from learning she would be on the same team with her crush. Team 10 is Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, and Ino Yamanaka. Your Jounin sensei is Asuma Sarutobi, Iruka announced the final team. Why aren't we Team 9, Iruka sensei? Ino asked. Oh, that's because Team 9 is still currently active, Iruka replied. Well, now that I have announced the teams, I'll go call your Jounin sensei now instead of tomorrow. You all can go have lunch and use the time to get to know your teammates, Iruka said, dismissing the class. Well Naruto, the old man and I will leave you to it. We have other things we have to get done today, Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded. Naruto walked over to Shino and Hinata, who had both moved to sit together. How about we get something to eat and talk, since we'll be on the same team and all? Naruto suggested. I would like that, Shino replied. Hinata blushed. Sure. That sounds good. How about ramen? I know a great place to get some, Naruto said, getting a nod from both of them. Great. Let's go. Naruto said, and the three of them walked out of the class. Ah, now things can get back to normal around here, Iruka thought as he watched Naruto leave with his teammates. Naruto, Hinata, and Shino were walking down the streets of the village to go to the place Naruto suggested. They saw that all the villagers they passed were glaring at Naruto with hate-filled eyes. The two of them didn't know why. Naruto, why do they look at you like that? Shino asked. Naruto shrugged. I'll tell you some other time, Naruto said as they continued to walk to the ramen stand. Shino decided to drop it for now, seeing, as it was a touchy subject for Naruto. Naruto saw the ramen stand. It hadn't changed at all. He ran over to greet Ayam and Tucci. He hadn't seen them in so long, plus his outfit was quite different from what it used to be. Naruto sat down and waited for Tucci to come out. 1 minute, and I'll be right with you, he shouted from the back. No problem old man, whenever you're done. Naruto called back. Tucci's head shot out from behind the wall. Oh my. Look. It's Naruto. It seems our best customer has returned. Tucci exclaimed happily and came right out to greet the boy. Came out from the back. Hey, Naruto. How have you been? Oh, and who are your friends? She asked. Naruto smiled. He was glad to see they haven't changed at all. I've been fine. I was just training, and these two are my new teammates, he responded to both questions. Smiled. She was glad to see Naruto was back, and to see him bring some friends along was a bonus. The three of them sat down. Shino and Hinata each ordered a bowl of miso ramen, while Naruto ordered 5 of them. Tucci laughed. He forgot how much Naruto ordered in one go. Tucci quickly went to go cook the orders. Stayed and talked with Naruto and his new teammates. So, Shino, you're part of the Aburame clan? Asked. Shino nodded. Doesn't your clan use your own bodies as some sort of hive for the bugs? She asked. Yes we do. We're a bug-using clan, so it's beneficial to keep a living hive of the bugs we use inside us at all times, Shino explained. Wow, that's cool. Naruto exclaimed. Ayam looked slightly grossed out by the fact he was a walking hive for bugs. I think it's interesting, and it does make a lot of sense to do that, but doesn't it hurt? Hinata wondered. Shino smiled, although you couldn't see it because of his coat. He was honestly glad his team didn't think he was weird for being a human bug hive. I'm not sure. I was put to sleep when the procedure was performed. I suppose it does sound like. It would be painful, Shino explained. Just then, a man sat down on the stool next to Naruto. Why is this thing here? The man asked arrogantly. A frying pan flew across the stand, smashing into the man's face and knocking him onto the floor. The man got up and spit out 2 of his teeth. Tucci came out from the back. If you don't leave right now, you'll lose more than just 2 teeth. Of that, I can assure you, Tucci said in an ominous tone, as he was sharpening a rather large knife. The man decided to leave without saying anything. He even left his 2 teeth. Thanks old man, Naruto said after the man ran off. No problem Naruto, anytime, Tucci said as he went back to finish cooking. Sorry about that, but my dad gets like that when someone badmouths Naruto, Ayam said. Hinata and Shino were confused. Why did people treat him like a thing and not a person? They sat in silence. Naruto never said anything about what just happened, nor did he seem to want to talk about it just yet. Tucci came out with the orders. Your orders are done. Naruto's face brightened up. All right. Ramen. I haven't had this since I left for my training with the pervy sage, he exclaimed. Tucci placed the orders in front of them just as a woman walked in. Ah, Hinata, this is where you and your team are, the woman stated. Hinata looked around to see her friend and current sensei, Kurenai Yuhi, standing behind her. Kurenai sensei. Hinata exclaimed happily as she got up and gave her a hug. Naruto pushed one of his miso ramen aside. Well, sensei, you might as well eat with us, Naruto said without even turning around. Thank you, I think I will, Kurenai replied and sat down to the hot bowl of ramen. So, Naruto, I heard you went and trained with the toad sage Jiraiya, Kurenai said, trying to make some conversation with the boy. Pervy sage? Yeah, I did, Naruto replied. Pervy sage? Kurenai asked. Well, he may be a sannin and a sage, but he is first and foremost a perv with no equal. That's why I call him pervy sage, Naruto explained, getting a laugh out of everyone. So did you like it? The training that is, Kurenai asked. Yeah, I liked being at Myoboken training with the toads, Naruto said as he finished the 3rd bowl of ramen. Kurenai-sensei, what are we going to do today? Hinata asked. Nothing today, Hinata. Tomorrow though, I will give you your final test, Kurenai replied. What final test? We just did the test at the academy, Naruto said as he slurped down some ramen. Well, Naruto, you took your test to be Genin, that's true, but your Jounin-sensei, meaning me, will give you a final test, Kurenai said as she ate some of her ramen. Makes sense, I guess. So what do we have to do? Naruto asked. You'll find out tomorrow what I have in mind for your test. Just relax for the rest of the day, and show up at Training Ground 5 tomorrow at noon, Kurenai replied. Kurenai looked at the time. It was already 2 p.m. Well, let's go walk around and get to know each other, Kurenai suggested. Naruto put down the money for the 7 bowls of ramen ordered. They all stood up and started to leave. Later, Tucci and Ayam. I'll be back tomorrow, Naruto said with a big grin on his face. Well, it doesn't seem like Naruto has changed at all, Ayam said to her father. Nah, that boy is more grown up now. He tries not to show it, but he's matured a lot since we last saw him, Tucci said as he cleaned some dishes. With Kakashi was jumping across the rooftops. He had just finished talking with his new team. He didn't mind Sakura too much, or Kiba, but Sasuke was a little fixated on the revenge idea. Kakashi had known Itachi for a long time, and he still couldn't understand why Itachi killed his clan. It didn't make sense, but there was nothing he could do about it now. He wasn't sure about training Sasuke, but his hands were tied in the matter, and he was stuck with the boy. Kakashi didn't mind too much. It kind of reminded him of Obito in a way, and himself, although he hated to admit it. He had heard Naruto was back in the village, and was a little irritated that Jiraiya didn't say anything. He felt as if he was always being left out of things that were important to him. Kakashi was hoping to be able to train Naruto a bit someday soon, given Jiraiya would give him permission to train him. Kakashi stopped as he saw Naruto talking with his new teammates. The four of them seemed to get along pretty well. He looked around at the civilians who were glaring at Naruto. Kakashi wondered how Naruto could take everyone looking at him like that all the time. It would drive anyone else insane. Kakashi sighed. I'll just talk to Naruto later. He seems to be having a good time, Kakashi said to himself and went off to do some paperwork. With Naruto had just bid his teammates farewell for today. He was planning on meeting Hinata at 4 p.m., but no one else knew that. Naruto smiled as he walked off to his apartment to go get ready. Even though he had an hour until he had to be there, he wanted to clean out his apartment, since he hadn't done that yet. Naruto had just arrived at his apartment. He was inside cleaning up, when Kyubi spoke to him. Quite the interesting girl you chose as your mate, child, the Kyubi stated. What do you mean, mate? Naruto asked, feeling rather confused. Mate, as in you will more than likely marry her and have little kids with her one day, the Kyubi said bluntly, causing Naruto to face vault. I wasn't thinking that far ahead, you perverted fox. But now that you bring it up, I doubt that could ever happen, Naruto said to the fox. He was a bit depressed. Because her clan, most of the council, and village would be against it? That just means that one day, you will have to make a choice. That choice will most likely be the hardest one you will ever make or maybe even the easiest, but when it comes time. Choose wisely, the fox stated in a somewhat ominous tone. What do you mean, a choice? What kind of choice? Naruto asked. The fox didn't respond, choosing to remain silent. Naruto decided to just shrug off what the fox had said, and went back to what he was doing. Naruto looked at the time. It was 30 minutes until he had to meet Hinata at Training Ground 15. With Hinata was sitting in her room. She had just walked by the dojo to see her father praising her younger sister for her hard work. Hinata, to say the least, was depressed. She wanted a shoulder to cry on, but crying and other shows of weak behavior weren't allowed. She looked up at the time. It was 20 minutes till 4. She pulled herself together and left out her window. As long as she was back by 8 p.m., no one in the house really seemed to care. Hinata arrived at Training Ground 15 to see Naruto sitting against a tree. Naruto waved as he saw Hinata walking towards him. Hey, Hinata-chan, he said in a happy tone. Hinata smiled, his smile always seemed to brighten her day, even more so since he started talking to her. Hi Naruto-kun, she said as she walked up to Naruto. Sorry, I can't take you out to eat right now, Naruto said in a depressed tone. Hinata noticed Naruto had something behind his back. She tried to look but he turned as she did. Naruto-kun, what's behind your back? Hinata asked. Naruto pulled out a few different flowers from behind his back. The first one Hinata saw was a single white gardenia, which symbolized secret love. It described their new relationship. The next was a white rose, which symbolized purity and innocence. It described Hinata perfectly. She was a pure and innocent soul. The last flowers she saw were some purple lilacs. They symbolized first love. Pervy Sage said I should bring you some flowers, so I got a book on flowers to see which ones I should get, Naruto said nervously. He for once in his life was extremely nervous. Hinata smiled and took the flowers. She knew their meanings, and she walked up to Naruto and kissed him on the cheek. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I love them, Hinata said happily. Naruto blushed. He was glad she liked the flowers. They sat down underneath the tree. Hinata leaned against Naruto and sighed happily. She wouldn't mind staying like this for a while. In the Hokage tower, come on. Make out with the girl already. Jiraiya yelled into the crystal ball. Hiruzen walked into his office. Stop spying on the boy, Jeriah. He's got enough problems without you spying on him, Hiruzen said as he took the crystal ball from Jeriah. And you'd better not be using your godson and his new girlfriend as material for your next book. Jiraiya started to sweat. Why would I do something like that? He said innocently. Do you want me to list the reasons? What? Hoping to see a make-out session? Hiruzen asked. Well, I was kind of hoping, yeah, Jiraiya replied. Hiruzen sighed. Jiraiya never changes, but that was sometimes a good thing. With Naruto and Hinata, an hour had passed since Naruto and Hinata had met at Training Ground 15, and they were still sitting under the tree. Hinata had her arms wrapped around one of his, her head lay on his shoulder. She didn't want the day to end, but they both knew they would have to leave soon, before anyone came looking for them. Naruto stood up and held out his hand. Hinata blushed and accepted the gesture. Sorry, Hinata. I know it wasn't a great first date, Naruto said, a little depressed he couldn't take her out to eat. That's alright, Naruto-kun. I still had a nice time, Hinata replied sweetly. Next time we can have a picnic or something, Naruto suggested. I just haven't had time to buy anything since I got back. Hinata smiled. That would be wonderful, Naruto-kun. Hinata hugged Naruto, then ran off in the direction of her home. She was extremely happy. Naruto stood there for a short time before he took off in the direction of his apartment. Naruto was eating a late breakfast. He had a rather hard time sleeping last night. How can I take her out on a real date? Naruto sighed and went back to eating instant ramen. You surprise me. You can be extremely intelligent one minute, and extremely dim-witted the next, Kyubi said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. He didn't feel like arguing with the fox, it was too early. You learned the Rasengan at age 11, but you can't even figure out a solution to a simple problem such as this, Kyubi replied. Alright, tell me then, what's the answer? Naruto asked in a sarcastic tone. Kyubi sighed, it's simple. Ask the toads, Kyubi said as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. I'm still lost. How can they help me? Naruto asked, still oblivious to what Kyubi was getting at. I suppose I'll have to spell it out for you. Ask the toads if you and Hinata could go to Myoboken to have your dates. They have taken a liking to you, and I don't think such a simple request will be rejected, Kyubi said bluntly. That's a great idea, Fuzzball. I could kiss you. Naruto exclaimed. I'd rather you didn't, but I would like a change of scenery. Spending almost 13 years in a sewer isn't anyone's idea of healthy living, Kyubi said. Not sure what I can do, but let me give it a try, Naruto responded. Naruto closed his eyes. He began to concentrate on removing the sewer-like walls. The walls of the sewer, along with Kyubi's cage, began to dissipate. All the walls were gone. Even the floor itself was gone. It was nothing but a black void now. Pretty good kid. Now make it something simple, like a field or something like that, Kyubi said, still laying on what used to be the floor. Naruto pictured a field. The black void began to change. Extending outward, a grassy field came into existence. Naruto thought it was too plain, so he began to concentrate again. A gigantic tree took form in the middle of the field. The tree was so large, it dwarfed Kyubi entirely. "Now that's more like it," Kyubi said as he walked over to lay underneath the giant tree. "Why exactly are you helping me anyway, Fuzzball?" Naruto asked. "Why? Well, a few reasons I suppose," Kyubi said. "You going to tell me?" Naruto asked. "I suppose. First of all, I'm stuck with you. The fourth Hokage was no fool when he designed this seal. Second, you interest me, which isn't an easy thing to accomplish, I might add. So, to make your life just a bit easier and mine a bit more enjoyable in here, I've decided to help you every now and then," the fox said. Naruto sighed. "Man, you're weird, Fuzzball," Naruto mumbled. "You used to wear a bright orange jumpsuit, and you're calling me weird?" the fox shot back. "Okay, you got me there," Naruto replied. Naruto looked at the time to see he only had 30 minutes to get to the training ground to meet his team. Naruto got out of his pajamas and into his normal clothes, and headed out to meet his team. At training ground 5, Hinata was sitting underneath a large tree, humming happily while waiting for her teammates. Hinata had spent last night pressing the flowers Naruto had given her. She was a bit tired, but ready to take whatever test Kurenai planned on giving her. Shino and Naruto walked up to Hinata. They were discussing the many uses Shino's bugs had. Naruto and Shino waved when they saw Hinata. She blushed a little and waved back. Naruto and Shino sat down underneath the tree with Hinata waiting for their sensei to arrive. "So, what do you think Kurenai-sensei has in mind for our test?" Hinata asked her teammates. Good question. I was trying to figure that out myself," Shino replied. Naruto shrugged. "Don't know. Hope it isn't anything too boring, though," Naruto said. The 3 young genin sat under the tree and talked about Shino's bugs and the abilities of the Hyuga bloodline. It was 15 minutes after noon when Kurenai Yuhi was seen walking up to the young genin. "Ah, good to see you're all getting along," Kurenai said. Naruto jumped up. "So what's our test?" he asked excitedly. Kurenai smiled at his enthusiasm. "You 3 will attempt to track me down and subdue me. You have 3 hours to try and complete your test, and your test starts now," Kurenai said, then disappeared in a puff of smoke. "Well, since we have to find her before anything else, Hinata, would you search for her with your Byakugan?" Shino asked. Hinata nodded. "Byakugan!" Hinata exclaimed, and she began to scan the area for her sensei. With Kakashi sighed. He just finished tying Kiba to the wooden post. Kakashi had explained to them the real purpose of his test and gave them one last chance to act like a team or be sent back to the academy. Of course, Kakashi was bluffing. He couldn't do that considering the Uchiha was part of the team. I wonder how well Naruto is doing with his team?" Kakashi wondered as he walked away from Team 7 to give them time to consider their options. With Team 8 was currently chasing Kurenai through the woods of Training Ground 5. They had been chasing her for almost an hour now. They almost had her once, but she escaped by using a simple genjutsu to fool them. "Yo, Shino. Go off to the left. I'll head off to the right. Hinata keep tailing her, Shino and I are going try and set up a trap," Naruto stated. Hinata nodded. Both Shino and Naruto went off in their respective directions. Seems like they split up. To try and head me off, perhaps? Kurenai thought as she was running through the treetops. Naruto smiled. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 Naruto clones popped into existence. The shadow clones dispersed immediately once the smoke cleared. They knew what to do. Shino, on his end, was dispersing his bugs in an attempt to drain Kurenai's chakra when the time was right. Hinata was keeping track of Kurenai's movements with her Byakugan, while Shino and Naruto were busy setting up on their end. 15 minutes went by before Shino and Naruto had finally gotten into the positions they wanted. The two waited in the shadows of the trees, waiting for Kurenai to get within range. Kurenai had no idea what Naruto and Shino had planned. She kept running while Hinata chased her. She was honestly having a lot of fun with this test. A shadow clone appeared behind Shino. "Yo, Shino. She's coming. Get ready," the clone said, then disappeared in a puff of smoke. Shino prepared to spring his bugs into action once Naruto started his part. Kurenai was running out of wooded area to run in, so she decided to jump into the clearing up ahead. When she landed, 20 Naruto clones appeared from the forest and quickly surrounded her, while Shino's bugs were swarming up above her. Kurenai smiled. She never expected them to be quite this good. Their teamwork was very good, and that's what she was going for with this test of hers. Hinata popped out of the woods a few seconds after Naruto and Shino and put their plan into action. Hinata was tired. She didn't have the same amount of stamina Naruto or Shino had. She really needed to rest. "Very good, all three of you. You've all done far better than I would expect from new Genin. You've accomplished the main point of your test," Kurenai stated. Naruto was slightly confused. "What do you mean?" "We didn't accomplish the last part of it," Naruto stated, getting a nod from Shino and Hinata. "You were never expected to subdue a Jounin-level ninja when you're fresh out of the academy, Naruto. The main point of the test I gave you was to see how well you worked as a team. The three of you chased me for over an hour using Hinata's Byakugan to track me. When you knew you couldn't catch me with speed or take me head-on, you set a trap," Kurenai stated, as she pointed to the bugs above her and the many Naruto shadow clones that surrounded her. "Then why did you say we had to subdue you?" Shino asked. "We are Shinobi, Shino, we lie all the time. You must learn to look beyond deception in order to see what the truth is," Kurenai explained. Hinata sat down on the grass. She was tired. "Do we pass?" Hinata asked. "With flying colors, Hinata," Kurenai replied. Naruto jumped in the air, making victory signs with his fingers. Hinata smiled and Shino remained his silent self, but he was smiling under his coat. Naruto's enthusiasm was amusing to watch. With Kakashi it was 2 p.m. now. Kakashi had just finished with his new team. "They need a lot of work," Kakashi said with a long sigh. Down the street, Kakashi saw Team 8 talking with one another. Kakashi noticed Naruto was getting many glares. "I wonder if they will ever see that boy as anything but a demon?" Kakashi thought sadly. Kakashi was brought out of his thoughts when Kurenai walked over to talk to him. "So, Kakashi-senpai, how's your team?" Kurenai asked. "Couldn't be better," he replied, not meaning it a bit. Kurenai sighed. "Would you guys go ahead? I need to talk with Kakashi-senpai." The three young Genin nodded and walked off in the direction of the ramen stand. "I'm really not in the mood to talk about it, Kurenai," Kakashi stated. "Oh, come on. I'll let you take me out to dinner," she said playfully, not expecting him to say yes. Kakashi thought about it. He hadn't go on a date since Rin died. Kurenai was around his age, and quite the looker. He had always wanted to ask her on a date, but was still too absorbed in the past to work up the nerve to ask her. "All right, it's a date then," Kakashi said. Kurenai was shocked. She never expected that answer. "WW what?" Alright, pick me up at 5, she replied, stuttering a little. "I'm as bad as Hinata," she thought. Kurenai walked away, her blush turning a deeper shade of pink. She had always been attracted to him like so many other women, but no one had ever gotten a date with him other than Rin. With Team 8 they had just started to eat some ramen, when Hiruzen sat down next to Naruto. "Hey old man. What do you need? Naruto asked as he slurped down some ramen. I was just coming to see how well your test went, Hiruzen replied as he ordered a bowl of miso ramen with pork. It went great, right guys? Naruto exclaimed. His teammates nodded in response. Good, glad to see you're getting along with your teammates, Hiruzen said in a very happy tone. Hiruzen turned to see Kurenai walking up to the stand. Ah, Kurenai, you look happier than usual. Kurenai smiled and bowed. Good afternoon, Hokage-sama. So how did the team do? Hiruzen asked. They were excellent. They passed with flying colors, Kurenai replied as she sat down next the Hokage. See, old man. Told you, Naruto stated as he ate some of the pork off a new bowl of ramen. Kurenai wasn't sure what to think. She had never heard anyone refer to the Hokage as bold man before. Naruto, show the Hokage some respect. Kurenai said, scolding Naruto. Hiruzen waved it off, it's fine Kurenai. Naruto has been calling me that for a long time now. Naruto had a huge grin on his face. On the other side of the street, there was a small figure in the alleyway grinning as well. The small figure got into position to get as much speed as possible when he left the shadows of the alleyway towards his target. He burst out of the alleyway. I've got you this time, old man. Konohamaru yelled. When Konohamaru got halfway there, he tripped over the long scarf he had around his neck. He tumbled in midair and hit Naruto, smashing his face into his ramen. Hinata couldn't help but giggle. Naruto slowly removed his face from his precious bowl of ramen and glared at the small boy, rubbing his head on the ground. What the hell is wrong with you? Naruto shouted as he picked Konohamaru off the ground by the collar of his shirt. Let go of me, stupid! Konohamaru yelled. Ebisu appeared in front of everyone. Unhand the honorable grandson. Naruto looked at him as if he was stupid. Honorable wa? I don't care who he is, Naruto yelled as smacked Konohamaru upside the head. Ebisu was in pure shock, while Hiruzen laughed. The entire scene was rather comical. How dare you hit the third Hokage's grandson? Ebisu yelled. I don't care whose grandson he is. He messed up my ramen. Naruto replied, still a bit angry. Hiruzen chuckled. It was so much like Naruto to ignore the fact he had been hit and was more concerned about his food. Hiruzen sighed as he saw his secretary coming close. He knew he had to get back to the office now. Sorry Naruto. I have to go now. Work calls, Hiruzen said as he got up. Alright, old man. See ya around, Naruto replied. Hiruzen stopped and turned around towards Naruto. Still want to become Hokage, Naruto? He asked. Naruto grinned. Of course I do, he replied. Excellent, Hiruzen said with a smile, then began to walk to his office. Naruto grinned. Well guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Naruto said as he paid for his and his teammates' ramen. Alright, Shino replied. By Naruto-kun, Hinata squeaked out. Naruto waved and shunshined away from the ramen stand. Kurenai looked at the time. I have less than 2 hours to find an outfit, she thought in panic. I have some plans tonight. I'll see you two tomorrow at around 9 a.m. so we can get a mission from the Hokage, she said quickly and ran off. Odd, I've never seen Kurenai-sensei like that before, Hinata mumbled. Shino got off the stool and waved goodbye to Hinata, then made his way home. Hinata sighed. She wanted to talk with Naruto today. Nothing specific, just to at least talk with him. Hinata hopped off the stool and decided to go home. She didn't have anything else to do today. With Kakashi had just arrived back at his home. He went straight for the closet to see what kind of clothes he had. He had completely forgotten he had no dress clothes. All he had was ANBU and Jounin outfits. Damn, I guess I'll have to buy something decent to wear for when I go on my date with Kurenai, Kakashi said. He looked up at the time. He had less than 2 hours to get a decent outfit. With Kurenai was frantically searching her closet for an outfit. She had 4 outfits in her hands, and 8 more on her bed already. She couldn't decide on the outfit she wanted to wear. She had never dated anyone before, so she was stressing herself out about what to wear. I don't want anything too revealing, she thought as she put away 2 of the outfits. Kurenai spent the next 30 minutes looking at her outfits until she was down to 2 different outfits. One was a dark red strapless dress that stretched down to the middle of her thighs. It showed off a lot of her figure. The other outfit she was looking at was quite different. It was a pair of tight-fitting jeans with a red tank top. I think I'll just go with the dress, she thought, finally deciding on what to wear. With Hinata had taken her time getting home. She had such a good time with her new team, that going back to the Hyuga estate was the last thing she wanted to do. Hinata was now standing in front of the compound next to 2 branch members. Afternoon, Hinata-sama. I hope everything went well with your test, one of the guards said. Hinata smiled, yes, it did. Thank you, she replied. The only people who were concerned with Hinata's well-being were the branch members, well, most of them at least. She was the only main house member that the branch really cared for, since she never used that cursed seal on them or ever berated them for any reason at all. Hinata sighed and walked past the guards. She was going straight to her room. Hinata walked through the halls of the Hyuga estate. She passed by her father and little sister Hanabi. Hinata's father didn't even bother looking, but her sister turned and smiled at her. Hinata was glad her little sister didn't turn into a small female version of her father. Hinata finally made it to her room. She walked in and sat down on her bed. When she sat down, she heard something that sounded like crumbling paper. She took off her sheets to find a note. It said, 5 p.m., Hokage Monument, and that was all. Hinata smiled. Naruto-kun, she thought. She quickly got rid of the note and went to take a shower. She had about an hour till it was time to meet with him. With Naruto was sitting on his bed in his apartment, arguing with the fox. Tell her already, brat, the fox yelled. No. Naruto yelled back. You're just going to keep it from her forever, the fox shot back. Damn right, fuzzball. That's exactly what I intend to do. Naruto replied. Stupid child, the Kyuubi yelled. Dumb fuzzy bastard. Naruto shot back. Are you afraid, child? The fox asked playfully. Yes. Naruto shouted. Naruto looked down. Yes, I'm terrified, Naruto said in a sad voice. The fox said nothing in return. He hadn't expected that answer from Naruto. The child sitting there before him wasn't afraid of him in the least, but he was scared of rejection by that girl. The fox wasn't sure what to say, so he said nothing. He remained silent until Naruto left his mindscape. Naruto looked up at the clock. He had 20 minutes to get ready and get to the Hokage monument. He also needed to talk to Fukasaku about a certain request. Naruto did the hand signs for the summoning jutsu. He wanted to talk to Fukasaku before he met with Hinata. Summoning jutsu, Naruto said, slamming his hand onto the floor. In a puff of smoke, Fukasaku appeared. I need a favor, Naruto said to the old toad sage. Normally, he disliked being summoned, but Naruto was an exception. Fukasaku had grown to like the boy. He was full of energy and always positive. The old toad smiled. What might this favor be? Fukasaku asked. Could I take Hinata on a date to Myoboken? Naruto said, getting right to the point. Well, that is a rather unusual request, the frog stated. Why can't you just do that with her in the village? He asked. Well, you see, Naruto began to explain why he couldn't date Hinata in the village. Fukasaku would never even consider a request from other people, but Naruto was a good kid. He deserved some help. If it wasn't for the fox in him, he and Hinata could date easily without any repercussions. Alright, Naruto. I'll grant your request, we'll go over the specifics later, but I would like to meet this girl you always speak of, Fukasaku said to a very happy Naruto. Thanks. Naruto yelled as he grabbed Fukasaku in a death hug. Naruto, can't breathe. The elder frog tried to speak. Oh. Sorry, Naruto apologized. Not a problem. I will come to you when everything is ready, Fukasaku said, disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto smiled. He ran through his apartment, getting ready. Naruto summoned a shadow clone and ordered him to get some flowers for Hinata. The clone complied. It did a transformation jutsu to get some flowers without drawing attention. With Kakashi smiled. He had bought black dress pants and a dark blue dress shirt. He hadn't been in real civilian clothes in years. Many stared at him as he walked towards Kurenai's place. Many young women saw him and started to blush as they fantasized about the elite jounin. The same thought ran through their minds. Who's he going on a date with? I wonder what she's going to wear. Kakashi thought as he ignored the people staring at him. People finally noticed Kakashi was carrying half a dozen red rosebuds in his right hand. Everyone now knew Kakashi was on a date. Something many knew he hadn't done in a long time. Rosebuds in general meant beauty and youth, a heart innocent of love, but they were red rosebuds, so they had another meaning. Red rosebuds meant pure and lovely. He hoped Kurenai would like the flowers. Kakashi wasn't really good with words when it came to events like this. He had gone over to the Yamanaka's flower shop to ask Inoichi's wife about what type of flowers he should bring. She had been more than glad to show him what to bring. Kakashi had just reached the front door of Kurenai's place. He was a little hesitant to knock on the door. Kakashi finally composed himself and knocked on the door. He was exactly on time. Kurenai opened the door quickly. She saw Kakashi had gotten dressed up as well. You look very handsome, Kakashi, Kurenai said, a blush appearing across her face. Kakashi was speechless. He knew she was good-looking, but what she was wearing was causing him to drool slightly. Kurenai saw that Kakashi was drooling through his mask and she blushed. I'll take that as a compliment, she said to Kakashi. Kakashi pulled himself together. These are for you. I'm not really that great at expressing myself, so I thought I'd get some flowers, Kakashi said, handing her the flowers. Kurenai smiled, thank you. I love them. She kissed him on the cheek and went back into her apartment to put them in some water. Kakashi blushed a little as he watched Kurenai disappear into her apartment. Kurenai smiled. She hoped, just like these flowers, her new relationship with Kakashi would bloom into something more. Kurenai finished putting the rosebuds into some water and walked back to the front door where Kakashi was waiting patiently. Shall we go? Kakashi asked as he held out his arm. Kurenai smiled and took his arm. They began to walk towards the part of the village that held all the restaurants in it. On the Hokage monument, Naruto was waiting for Hinata to arrive. He hoped she got the message. Naruto didn't have to wait long, as Hinata soon arrived. Naruto smiled. Hey Hinata-chan, he said warmly, flowers behind his back. Naruto gave her the orchids behind his back. Hinata smiled. She loved orchids. She also knew the meaning of orchid flowers. Orchids meant a few different things: love, beauty, refinement, and beautiful lady. Hinata blushed. Thank you, she said and kissed him on the cheek. Naruto blushed. He was about to say something when they heard something appeared behind them. It was Fukasaku. Ah, Naruto my boy. And this must be Hinata, Fukasaku said, getting a nod from Naruto. Hinata freaked out a bit. It talked. Hinata squeaked and jumped behind Naruto. Naruto chuckled. It's alright, Hinata. Remember how I told you I trained at Myoboken? Naruto asked. Hinata nodded. Yes, I remember, Hinata said, still hiding behind Naruto. Well, Myoboken is where the Toad clan lives, and I was wondering if you would like to go there with me sometime? Naruto asked. It's a very beautiful place. I'm sure you will enjoy spending your dates there, the frog said. I never got to tell her yet, old man, Naruto said, a little disappointed he didn't get to tell Hinata. Oh well, she knows now, the old frog said with a chuckle. Naruto turned around. So. What do you say? Would you want to? Naruto asked. Hinata smiled. Of course I would, she said, throwing her arms around Naruto. Fukasaku smiled. Very good. It will take some time for the scroll to be made for reverse summoning. I'll send Gamakichi when it's ready, Fukasaku explained. Thanks for everything, Naruto said to the old frog. Of course, Fukasaku said, then disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto and Hinata sat down on the Hokage monument to watch the sunset. Hinata was both nervous and excited about going to Myoboken. Neither her father nor her clan had ever been there before. With Kakashi and Kurenai just finished having dinner. If you asked either Kurenai or Kakashi, they would tell you it was great. During dinner, they talked about their likes and dislikes. They both enjoyed themselves very much. They had just left the restaurant and were walking down the road, not to any specific destination. So Kurenai? How's teammate? Kakashi asked as he placed his arm around her waist. Kurenai blushed. They're great. They work together very well, and Naruto is far more powerful than he's letting on, she replied. That's good to hear, he said. What about you? How's your team? She asked. Kakashi grumbled a bit. Not so great. I have a fangirl, and the other two don't cooperate with each other, he replied. Oh, I see. Well, they'll get better eventually, Kurenai said, putting her head on his shoulder. Kakashi sighed. I can only hope, he said in a rather depressed tone. In a bar, Anko, Asuma, and Iruka were going over some reports at a local bar. Anko glanced out the window of the bar when she thought she saw Kakashi in civilian dress clothes and Kurenai in a dress. Guys, look out the window, and tell me if what I'm seeing isn't an illusion, she said, poking the other two in the ribs rather hard. I'll be damned. Kakashi and Kurenai, Asuma said, grabbing everyone's attention. Iruka smiled. About time he moved on with his life, Iruka stated, getting a nod out of Anko and Asuma. Anko tried to get up, but Iruka pulled her back into her seat. Sorry, you're not going anywhere. We have things to do, Iruka said. Anko smiled. Is that an invitation of sorts, Iruka? She said seductively. Iruka choked on his drink a little and blushed. Anko laughed. She wouldn't mind getting to know Iruka better someday. She found that rather large scar across his face sexy. Okay, you two, you can get a room late. We need to finish these reports first, Asuma said, grabbing both their attention. Iruka and Anko blushed and got back to work. With Kakashi and Kurenai somehow ended up in front of her house, even though they walked randomly down streets and alleyways talking. Kurenai turned. Thank you for the wonderful time, Kakashi. Kurenai pulled down his mask and kissed him on the lips. Kakashi wrapped his arms around her, pulling her in closer. Their kiss lasted for over a minute. Before Kurenai pulled away. Kurenai was blushing furiously. How long have you wanted to do that? Kurenai asked. All night, he replied. I'll see you tomorrow, Kakashi, Kurenai said as she walked up to her place and closed the door behind her. Kurenai walked through her apartment. Her eyes fell upon the rose buds that she put in water a few hours ago. They were now half open. On the Hokage monument night had fallen, and Hinata had fallen asleep against Naruto on the Hokage monument. He smiled warmly at her. I suppose I better get her back home, he thought. Naruto picked Hinata up gently and made his way to the Hyuga compound. Naruto jumped through the rooftops of the village, lucky it was nighttime. No one saw him. He arrived near the Hyuga compound within minutes. There isn't any more security than during the day, it seems. I guess they don't get too many intruders, he thought. Naruto saw an opening in the guard and made a quick run to Hinata's room. Naruto closed the window so the guards wouldn't see him with Hinata. He set her down on the bed and quickly placed the covers over her as he heard someone coming down the hallway. Naruto kissed her on the forehead. Good night, Hinata-chan, Naruto said warmly and shunshined away. Naruto was excited he was going to go on his first mission today. Naruto ran through the rooftops towards where he and his team were supposed to meet every day before taking missions. Naruto arrived at their meeting spot. It was a small bridge inside of the village. The bridge went over one of the few aqueducts that supplied the village with running water. Finally we get our first mission. Naruto exclaimed. Everyone chuckled at Naruto's enthusiasm. Even the most repetitive tasks would seem fun around Naruto with all his energy. Well, Naruto, you seem happy to start missions, Kurenai stated. Yeah, and you seem happier than yesterday. Go on a hot date or something? Naruto shot back, causing Kurenai to blush. Naruto had just hit the nail on the head with that comment. Kurenai felt so embarrassed from Naruto's comment. Why would you say that? Kurenai asked, her blush a dark shade of pink now. Well, pervy sage used to say that all the time, Naruto replied. Oh, I see. Well, let's just get a mission then, Kurenai said, walking in the direction of the Hokage tower. Naruto walked next to his two teammates behind Kurenai on their way to the Hokage tower to receive a mission. When they arrived at the Hokage tower, Kurenai went inside to get a mission while the three young genin waited outside. They saw Kurenai come out from the Hokage building carrying a scroll a few minutes later. The four of them took off to go complete the mission. 30 minutes later, they were coming back from the mission, and Naruto had paint on his clothes. Was that really a ninja mission? It was more like something you train monkeys to do, Naruto stated. He was upset their mission was to paint a house. Kurenai sighed. Sorry Naruto, but these aren't the old days where genin didn't get useless D-rank missions, Kurenai said in a depressed tone. She was also a bit disappointed. Well, when we get up to the Hokage building I'm getting a C-ranked mission. Naruto yelled, as he ran off towards the Hokage building. We better catch him before he causes a problem, Shino said in a slightly happier tone than usual while adjusting his glasses. Hinata and Kurenai smiled. In the few days Naruto had been around him, Shino talked far more than he ever had during the academy. They all ran after Naruto, to make sure he didn't cause a problem in the Hokage tower. They all arrived to see Naruto staring at a very scratched-up Sasuke Uchiha. The three knew this wasn't going to end well, but they wanted to see what Naruto was going to say. Sasuke, ever hear the saying, no means no? Naruto asked, and then walked by not waiting for an answer. Kurenai and Kakashi couldn't help but laugh. The other genin were a bit confused by what Naruto had said. How dare you talk about my Sasuke-kun like that? Sakura said as she tried to punch the back of Naruto's head. Naruto spun around and grabbed her first. Sakura, I'm not going to let you hit me anymore, like you used to, especially not because it's something I said to team, Naruto said, his eyes were cold. Alright, that's enough, Kakashi said, stepping in before things became violent. So I take it you guys got Tora the Terror? Kurenai asked. Yeah, we did. Sasuke, as you can see, got scratched up by the cat, Kakashi replied with a slight blush. Stupid cat, I can see why it ran away, Sasuke grumbled. Just then, they saw the cat jump back out the window of the Hokage building while a very large woman screamed for the cat to come back. Naruto flinched. I agree with team. I can see why the cat ran away, Naruto said. Everyone else just nodded in agreement. Well Kakashi, we will see you around. We're going to get another mission, Kurenai said, blushing slightly and walking into the Hokage building. Hinata noticed the staring going on between Kurenai and Kakashi. She just smiled and followed her sensei. The other 5 genin didn't notice anything, they just went with their respective teams' leaders. Team 8 had just arrived in the room that handled the missions. We're done with painting the house, Kurenai said in a bored tone. Well, we have more D-rank missions. Tora escaped again, so it would be nice if you could catch him, Hiruzen said as he looked over some reports. I want a real mission, old man. What does painting some guy's house get me? Naruto whined. Naruto, show some respect to the Hokage. You're fresh genin, and these are the kinds of missions you get when you first start out, Irika said. I don't care, we are ninja, not painters, dog walkers, animal catchers, or gardeners, Naruto shot back. Jiraiya had just come through the window to see the old man and hear Naruto's rant. Pervy sage, tell him we should get a better mission. Naruto whined at his sensei. Jiraiya looked to see Naruto's teammates were sitting down as they waited. I guess they figured they wouldn't be leaving till the Hokage caved, Jiraiya thought, chucking a bit. Hiruzen looked at Jiraiya. Well Jiraiya, what do you think? Hiruzen asked. Well, you know he isn't going to leave till you give him something more fitting of a ninja, Jiraiya replied to his old sensei. Well, I do have that mission to the wave. I'm not so sure Tazuna is being truthful though, Hiruzen thought. So old man, you going to give me a better mission? Naruto asked. Hiruzen sighed. Fine, your team will be bodyguards on a journey to the land of waves. It's only a C-ranked mission, but that is far as I'm willing to go with you, Naruto, Hiruzen said, throwing Naruto the scroll. Thanks old man. Naruto exclaimed, running over to Kurenai and handing her the scroll. Kurenai wasn't sure how to act. She had never seen the Hokage compromise, especially with a child of all people. Send him in, Hiruzen announced. A drunken-looking man came through the door. He had a large bottle in his hand. Tazuna looked at the child before him. You can't be serious, he's just a child, Tazuna said, taking another swig of his bottle. Hiruzen laughed. He may be a child but far more capable at fighting than any mere thug or bandit, Hiruzen said, making Naruto smile. Yeah, and someday I'll take his job, Naruto announced, pointing at the Hokage. Hiruzen laughed. You will depart in an hour for your mission, Team 8, Hiruzen stated as he got back to looking at his papers. Hiruzen watched as Naruto and his team left to go get ready, while Tazuna left for the nearest bar to get another bottle. He was going to need it. Team 8 was outside the Hokage building. Alright, you guys have 30 minutes to gather your things, pack for at least 2 weeks, Kurenai stated and dismissed them. The 3 genin took off for their respective homes to gather what they needed. At the Hyuga estate, Hinata was packing her things to go on her mission. She was so happy and excited to be getting away from this house for a while. Hayashi was walking by his daughter's room when he noticed she was packing. Hayashi walked into Hinata's room. Where are you going, Hinata? Hayashi asked. Hinata was startled. She hadn't heard her father coming. We have a C-ranked mission and I have to be packed for 2 weeks, Hinata said nervously. Interesting. Normally a genin team doesn't get one on the first day. Very well, just do as you're told, Hayashi said. Oh, of course, father, Hinata replied, bowing to her father. Hayashi turned and walked out of Hinata's room. It was interesting to him even Niji's team hadn't received a C-rank mission until their 2nd week out of the academy. Hinata sighed. Couldn't he just say have a nice trip, or something like that? Hinata thought to herself. Hinata was a bit depressed that her father didn't seem too concerned about her. Hayashi was walking to his office. Maybe I'll have to talk to the Hokage as to why he's sending her team out so soon on a C-ranked mission, Hayashi thought as he turned a corner. At the front gate of Konoha, Team 8 had just arrived back at the front gate ready to leave. Hiruzen and Jiraiya were standing there to see them off. "Oh Naruto, I forgot to give this to you earlier," Jiraiya said, handing Naruto a letter. Kurenai noticed something on the letter. "Isn't that the seal the nobles from the Land of Iron use?" Kurenai asked. "What is the Land of Iron?" Shino asked. "The Land of Iron is a small, but very powerful nation. Instead of having Shinobi as its main military power, they have samurai, and are extremely skilled in the art of swordsmanship. The Shinobi never step foot in that country unless permission is given at least a week beforehand," Jiraiya finished explaining. "Yeah, me and Pervy Sage went there when I was about to turn 11, Naruto said as he reminisced about that time. Flashback, Naruto were going on a trip for a short time, Jiraiya stated as he ate. "Oh, where are we going?" Naruto asked. "We're going to see an old friend of mine in the Land of Iron. I meant to go see him 11 years ago but something came up," Jiraiya replied. "When do we leave?" Naruto asked. He was excited. Jiraiya was glad Naruto didn't think it was odd that the same time he meant to go see his old friend was the time when Naruto was born and the fox attacked the village. "Well, by now the toad I sent should have delivered the scroll telling my friend of our arrival. The toad should have set up the summon scroll as well, so we don't have to walk there. We will be leaving later today, no need to pack anything," Jiraiya replied. "Alright, cool." Naruto exclaimed. A few hours passed before Jiraiya and Naruto were ready to leave. Jiraiya prepared to teleport them to the Land of Iron. "So, Naruto ready to leave?" Jiraiya asked his student. "Yeah." Naruto cheered. Jiraiya preformed a series of hand seals. Seconds later the two disappeared in a cloud of smoke and appeared in front of a large building. "Wow, this place is big," Naruto said in amazement. Naruto was not amazed by the building itself, but where the place was located. When Naruto looked up he saw a mountain surrounded the entire city at the ends leading to the massive openings where massive tooth-like shards of ice hung all along the opening making it look like a gigantic mouth. The mountain sheltering this small but powerful nation is called. A man standing behind them cut off Jiraiya. "It's called Three Wolves Mountain. There are 3 identical sides of the mountain just like this one you see now," said a voice from behind them. Jiraiya turned around. "Ah, Mifune, it's been so long, how you been?" Jiraiya asked. Mifune smiled, something he didn't do often. "Quite well, Jiraiya, since we last met. You were supposed to come and have a drink about 11 years ago, but you never showed up. What happened?" Mifune asked. Jiraiya noticed a child standing next to Mifune. "Is that your kid?" Jiraiya asked, trying to change the subject. "Yes, he is. He just turned 11 a few weeks ago. His name is Akira," Mifune replied. Akira ran over to Naruto. "Want to go do something fun?" he asked excitedly. Naruto smiled, "Sure." Naruto yelled, and the two ran off. The 2 adults grumbled at the same time. "I take it Akira is a handful?" Jiraiya asked. "Indeed. He gets it from his mother," Mifune replied, rubbing head. "Would it be too much trouble to hold Naruto's birthday here?" Jiraiya asked. "Sounds interesting, I'm sure Akira would like that too. Considering who I am, he doesn't get a lot of chances to socialize with others," Mifune said casually. Just then, Jiraiya and Mifune could hear guards shouting. "Get that blonde kid and Akira," one guard shouted. "Which blonde kid?" "There are 50 of them," another shouted. End of flashback. Yeah, Akira and I had a blast pulling pranks that week, Naruto said happily. "Don't remind me," Jiraiya said, and shivered a little. Naruto read the message Akira and sent him. He smiled and put the letter away. "Well, you guys should get going. I'm sure Tazuna wants to get home," Jiraiya said. "Alright, Team 8, let's head out," Kurenai announced, taking point. The 5 of them walked down the path towards the Land of Waves. Tazuna was no ninja. He could not jump through the trees or run, which would have made the trip quicker. Kurenai and Shino were in front while Naruto and Hinata were about 5 feet behind Tazuna. The group had been walking for an hour now. Tazuna was getting exceedingly nervous as the minutes passed. 2 figures watched the group from the trees. They would wait until the group was another hour or so out before attacking. Hinata, is something wrong? You've been upset about something since we left, Naruto whispered. I just wish my father would care about the things I do, Hinata replied. Well, I care, Naruto said. Hinata smiled. If Naruto cared about her, it didn't matter if her father did or didn't, he was never there for her anyhow. In Konoha, Kakashi and Team 7 were trying to catch Tora again. The cat was proving to be extremely intelligent and not falling for the same tricks twice. Kakashi watched, from a distance as Team 7 surrounded Tora. Sasuke was the first to lunge at Tora. The cat skillfully evaded him, landing on a tree branch. Kiba jumped to intercept the cat as it landed, but also missed. The cat landed in Sakura's arms, and both boys were upset. Kakashi came out of the bushes, and Team 7 left for the Hokage Tower. Team 7 arrived at the Hokage Tower 10 minutes later. Here to turn in Tora for the second time today, Kakashi said in a bored tone. Kakashi handed the cat to its owner, who almost crushed the cat in a hug. The owner left, not giving the cat a chance to escape. The Hokage was taking a sip of his tea when the cup he was holding cracked slightly. I have a bad feeling about Team 8, Hiruzen thought. Hiruzen stood up. Kakashi, I need to speak with you for a moment, Hiruzen said in a serious tone. Kakashi and Hiruzen left the room, leaving Team 7 standing there. With Team 8 plus Tazuna had been walking for a little over 2 hours now. Tazuna had just finished off his last bottle of sake when the group passed a puddle off the side of the road. Don't you find it odd that there's a puddle when it hasn't rained in almost a week? The fox asked. Yeah, it is a little weird, Naruto replied. Shino's bugs alerted him to the possible threat, though he didn't know what direction it would come from. Kurenai had also noticed the puddle. She readied herself for whatever may come. Hinata also noticed the puddle and thought it was odd. Tazuna was the only one who didn't seem to notice it was out of the ordinary. 2 men appeared from the puddle after the group had passed. They were standing back to back. They each had a single clawed gauntlet with a spiked chain connecting them together. The 2 men wore masks that covered their mouths, camouflage pants, and long black hair. The man facing the group threw his partner into the air to get above the group to kill their target. Kurenai jumped and pushed Tazuna out of the way. The claw grazed her arm. The man quickly jumped back to his partner. As soon as he landed, they ran in unison towards the bridge builder. Naruto appeared in front of them. They quickly released the chain on their gauntlets. One took a swing at Naruto, which he blocked, while the other ran around him to kill Tazuna. He passed right by Shino and Hinata. Kurenai ran in front of Tazuna ready to fight, but the man never made it to her as Kakashi smashed him into the ground. Kurenai saw Kakashi had the other man in a chokehold. The fight was over as quickly as it started. Naruto walked over to the group. He was upset Kakashi knocked out the man he was fighting. Yo! Kakashi said in a cheerful voice. Kakashi picked up the unconscious man off the ground and threw him over his shoulder. Kakashi, what are you doing here? Kurenai asked in disbelief. Not happy to see me, he replied. I never said that. Why did you come? She asked again. The Hokage had a bad feeling about your mission, so he sent me as backup, Kakashi replied. Okay, that explains what you're doing here. But that doesn't explain why those 2 were after him, Kurenai said, pointing to Tazuna. Why don't you ask him, while I go see what these 2 know, Kakashi said. He took the 2 men into the woods to have a few words with them. All right, old man, spill it. Those guys were clearly after you, Kurenai demanded. Tazuna sighed. Yes, they were after me. They were sent by a man named Gato. You mean Gato, as in one of the richest men in elemental nations? She asked. Yes, that's the one. Building a bridge that will end his monopoly over my nation, and he wants me dead because of it, Tazuna stated. That doesn't explain why you lied about what form of protection you needed, Kurenai replied. My nation is very poor, even the nobles have little money, this is all we could afford, Tazuna said, as he looked at the ground. I think we should continue. I'd rather not give up on the second mission I ever got as a ninja, Naruto said, not caring that Tazuna lied. We have Naruto's verdict. What about you two? Kurenai asked. I say we continue, Shino said. Well, I think Naruto-kun is right, we should continue, Hinata said. Well, Kakashi, should we? Kurenai asked, as she saw him coming back out of the woods. Kakashi thought about it. Doing this mission would mean he could train Naruto in something while they were on this mission. However, he would have to inform the Hokage first so he could get a temporary sensei for his team. Well, your team seems eager to continue, so why not, Kakashi replied. What did you find out from those two? She asked. Other than they were after Tazuna, not much, he replied. Kakashi cut his thumb and made a few hand signs. He slammed his hand on the ground. Summoning jutsu, a small pug dog appeared before the group. What do you need, Kakashi? It asked. Pakken, I need you to inform the Hokage that I will be staying with Team 8 to complete the mission. Also tell him to find a temporary sensei for my Team 7, Ebisu should be good if available. Oh, and tell him to send someone to pick up these two, Kakashi said, dismissing the dog. Pakken nodded and took off towards the village to deliver the message. Alright, now that's taken care of, let's continue, Kakashi said, turning towards the group. Old man, this is no longer a C-ranked mission, this could go from a B-rank to A-ranked mission, Kurenai said. I understand, and I'll be more than happy to pay for it when we recover financially after getting rid of Gato, Tazuna replied. Team 8, Tazuna, and now Kakashi headed towards Wave Country. A pair of eyes behind a mask watched as the group left. He was waiting for them to get far enough away before making his presence known. The young man waited patiently for 10 minutes before appearing in front of the two defeated ninja. Gozu, Meizu, it was rather sloppy of you to underestimate your opponent, the young man said in a sweet tone. Haku, please don't tell Zabuza how badly we messed up, Gozu pleaded. Meizu just remained silent as he waited for Haku to cut the bindings. You know I wouldn't, you guys are about the closest thing I have to a family, Haku replied. Kind of sad when your only family is a bunch of missing ninja, Meizu said as he adjusted his gauntlet. Haku chuckled a little. True, but I wouldn't have it any other way, he replied. The three of them left the area so they could report the failed attempt on Tazuna's life to Zabuza. With Zabuza was sitting in his chair thinking about how to proceed with his plans. Zabuza was a tall man, a little over 6 feet tall. He had combat wraps concealing the lower part of his face. He wore camouflage pants and a giant strap around his chest to hold the sword he wielded. I know that fat pig is going to try and double-cross me soon. What to do, he thought. Zabuza sat there in silence for a time until Gato came into the room shouting. Your men failed in their mission to kill that pathetic old man. Gato yelled. Zabuza stood up and towered over the short little troll called Gato. Keep your voice down, Zabuza said, almost loping the short man's head off with his sword. Are you trying to kill me? Gato yelled. Zabuza bent down to be eye level with Gato. It had crossed my mind, Zabuza replied in a dark tone. Gato stumbled backwards and fell on the ground. Gato quickly exited the room cursing Zabuza's name under his breath. Zabuza sat back down. If he wanted to kill Tazuna, he could have done it before he even reached the Leaf Village to request aid. Zabuza sighed, he just wasn't the same bloodthirsty man he was back when he tried to take over the Mist Village. The time he had spent with Haku and the Demon Brothers after their escape had changed him more than he ever let on when around others. With Team 8 several hours later, the group arrived at the edge of the water that leads to the Wave Country. They looked down the shore to see a small boat was waiting for them. The six of them got on the small boat, and started the slow journey across the water into the land of waves. How long is this trip going to take? Naruto asked. At this speed an hour or so, Kakashi answered. There was a thick fog covering their trek across the water. They sat in silence for 15 minutes before the bridge came into sight. My, that is quite some bridge, Kurenai remarked. Yeah, it's huge. Naruto exclaimed. Naruto-kun, not so loud, Hinata stated. Oh sorry, he whispered. The boat passed beside of the bridge, revealing how truly massive the structure was. And I thought it was big before, Kakashi mumbled. The group discussed their plans the rest of the way to shore. Tazuna decided they would stay at his house. They arrived at shore, and quickly disembarking from the small boat. Thanks for getting us across, Tazuna said. Of course, just make sure you complete the bridge, the man replied. Tazuna smiled. They headed off to Tazuna's house. With Zabuza, Haku, Meizu, and Gozu were kneeling before Zabuza while they explained what happened. We failed in our attempt to kill Tazuna, Gozu stated. Zabuza sighed. Who is guarding the old man currently? He asked. There were 3 Genin and 2 Jounin. Kakashi Hatake of the Sharingan Eye and Kurenai Yuhi the Genjutsu mistress of Konoha, Haku said. Gozu, Meizu, go get cleaned up, Zabuza said in a harsh tone. The two bowed and left, not giving Zabuza the chance to change his mind. They thought they would be punished for their lack of ability. Haku, I want you to watch these ninja carefully. I want to know any weaknesses they might have, Zabuza ordered. As you wish, Zabuza-sama, Haku replied. With Team 8 they had finally arrived at Tazuna house. Kakashi, though it was odd they weren't attacked again on the way. He would have to keep a watchful eye for anything out of the ordinary. Tazuna opened the door to his house. He was greeted by his daughter Tsunami. Father, you're back, Tsunami said. She was obviously relieved he made it home unharmed. Yes, I'm home, Tazuna replied in a happy tone. Tsunami looked at the group who came in with her father. Thank you for putting up with my father, I know he can be a handful, she said. Always treating me like a child, Tazuna mumbled. You shouldn't act like one then, she replied. Who are they? A small boy asked. These people are here to help protect your grandfather Inari, Tsunami replied. They should leave, before they die, Inari replied angrily. He walked by them towards the stairs. You'll have to forgive Inari, a lot has happened since Gato arrived, Tsunami said, looking at the ground. Naruto looked at the small boy as he walked up the stairs. Naruto couldn't help but wonder what happened to him. We have 2 extra rooms you can make use of, Tsunami said. Great, Kurenai replied. Kurenai and Kakashi talked about sleeping arrangement. 2 minutes later and one crimson blush, it was decided. Kurenai and Hinata would take one room, while Kakashi, Shino and Naruto would take the other. Kurenai-sensei, I'm going to look around town, Naruto said. Alright, but take Hinata with you, she replied. Naruto looked at her questioningly. Alright, come on Hinata, let's go, Naruto said. Hinata blushed and walked outside with Naruto. The two walked off in the direction of the town. Why did you make Hinata go with Naruto? Kakashi asked. Hinata has had a crush on the boy for years, she replied. Oh, so you're just playing matchmaker then? Kakashi said. Naruto and Hinata were walking through the woods in silence. Naruto was waiting to get a decent distance from Tazuna's home before talking. Does Kurenai know? Naruto asked. No, she just knows how I feel about you, Hinata replied. Oh, so she's trying to get us together then? Naruto asked. Yes, she replied. Naruto smiled and put his arm around Hinata. She sighed and put her head on his shoulder as they walked towards town. They arrived in town. Naruto and Hinata saw for themselves just how poor they really were. The various stores and houses they saw were rather run down. The prices on food were rather high and the food didn't even look that good. Naruto and Hinata walked through a few times before finding themselves heading back to Tazuna's house. Kurenai and Kakashi were spying on Naruto and Hinata from up in a tree. Kurenai saw Hinata had her head on Naruto's shoulder while he had his arm wrapped around waist. When did that happen? She never told me anything, Kurenai said. Why don't you ask them? Kakashi replied. Maybe, we better get back before they do, Kurenai said. The two disappeared from the tree they were in. As Naruto and Hinata neared the house, they broke apart. The two didn't know Kurenai and Kakashi had followed them. When Naruto and Hinata finally arrived, back at Tazuna's house the sun had just finished setting. Naruto and Hinata walked into the house to see Kurenai waiting for them. So Hinata, when were you going to tell me you and Naruto were already an item? Kurenai asked. Hinata blushed. What are you talking about, sensei? She asked. I saw you two in the forest, don't try and hide it, Kurenai replied. Shino walked into the room when the conversation started. Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Hinata looked at Naruto, she was concerned. So, how long? Kurenai asked in a sweet tone. Since I got back from training with the pervy sage, Naruto replied. Please don't tell anyone, Kurenai, especially my father, Hinata pleaded. You two have your right to privacy. And why would I tell your father? Kurenai replied. Kakashi came out of the other room. She's right, no one other than the people here have to know, he said reassuringly. Really? Hinata said excitedly. Why do you like sneaking around with Naruto? Kurenai said. She had a big grin on her face. Hinata's whole face turned a deep shade of red. Kurenai and Kakashi both smiled at the two young ninja. Shino didn't show it, his face is hidden, how can you see it, but he was happy for his teammates. Dinner's ready, Tsunami announced. Everyone sat down to eat. They all talked about funny or interesting events in their lives to take their minds off what was happening. Naruto talked with Shino about his pranks in Myoboken. Hinata discussed the art of pressing flowers with Tsunami. Kurenai and Kakashi discussed personal matter between themselves. Inari sat at the table brooding over how life sucked. And Tazuna just ate his dinner quietly. When dinner was over, Tsunami went off to the kitchen to do the dishes. Alright, we should be heading to bed now, we have a long day ahead of us, Kakashi announced. It was the next morning, everyone was eating breakfast. Well, everyone except Naruto, he wasn't in his room when everyone awoke. Kurenai and Kakashi knew he could take care of himself. They decided to let the boy be for now. Naruto was currently sitting on a rooftop in town. He was watching the families go about their morning business. They're as poor as can be, but happy, Naruto thought. Naruto used to watch families go about their daily lives before Jiraiya took him as an apprentice. Naruto wished he could have at least met his parents, even if it was once. Kakashi appeared behind Naruto. So this is where you've been all this time? Hinata is getting worried, Kakashi said. Oh sorry, let's go then, Naruto replied. Naruto. And Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. They appeared in front of Tazuna's house. The rest of Naruto's team had already left. Where are they? Naruto asked. They're currently working on tree climbing with Kurenai, Kakashi replied. I see. Are we going there? Naruto asked. No. Jiraiya asked me to train you in the use of swords. And I figured you already knew how to walk on trees and water, Kakashi explained. It's true, I know how to do those things. I've had some previous training with a sword back in the land of iron. But that was only for a few days, Naruto said. Excellent, then you at least know how to hold a sword, Kakashi responded. Kakashi pulled out 2 storage scrolls. They both had a blood seal on them. Kakashi cut his finger to undo the seal place upon the scrolls. 2 swords appeared in front of Kakashi and Naruto. Kakashi picked up one of the swords. He looked at the sword for a minute before handing it to Naruto. The sword was a Shinto-style katana. The blade was 29 inches in length. The tsuba, guard, was black in color and circular in shape. The handle or hilt was black, 10 inches in length, and wrapped in pure white silk. The silk was wrapped around the handle, leaving a diamond-shaped pattern all the way down on both sides of the handle. The sheath of the sword was the same color as the silk wrapped around the hilt. The sword was magnificent looking. I know they're going to yell at me for giving him this so early, Kakashi thought. Naruto looked at the sword. He couldn't take his eyes off of it. That sword is yours to keep, Naruto, Kakashi said. I can keep it? Naruto asked. Yes, think of it as an early birthday present, Kakashi replied. He strapped his own sword to his back. Kakashi's sword was the same, but everything on it was black. He used the sword while he was commander of the Umbu. Kakashi watched as Naruto tied the sword on his back. Kakashi would have to find out which position was best for Naruto to draw the sword. Kakashi looked over Naruto's size compared to the sword. Drawing the sword from the waist was out of the question until he was taller. This sword is awesome! Naruto exclaimed. Glad you like it, Kakashi said in an amused tone. Kakashi was glad the boy didn't ask who the previous owner of the sword was. He didn't think he could keep it from Naruto if he asked. The blade isn't made of ordinary metal, it's made from a type of metal that allows you to strengthen the blade with your elemental chakra, Kakashi said. Naruto gave Kakashi a thoroughly confused look. Kakashi saw Naruto didn't get what he was saying. Well, I'll just show you then, Kakashi said. He pushed chakra into the sword came to life with electricity. Awesome! Can show me how to do that now? Naruto asked excitedly. No, we can get to that part later. For now, we will work on your form, Kakashi said. Kakashi readied his sword and Naruto did the same. Naruto seemed a bit disappointed. But knowing how to use the sword came before the advanced parts of Kenjutsu. Off in the forest, Kurenai had just finished explaining to Shino and Hinata how to climb trees with chakra. She watched as the 2 genin were able to get a few feet up the tree, before losing their footing and jumping off the tree. I wonder what Kakashi wanted to teach Naruto. He was pretty insistent this morning on training him, Kurenai thought. Kurenai watched as Shino and Hinata made great progress in climbing the tree with only their feet. Once the 2 finished with this training, they could move on to water walking and some group training. Hinata walked up to Kurenai. Where is Naruto-kun? Hinata asked. Kurenai smiled at Hinata. He is with Kakashi at the moment, doing some form of training, Kurenai replied. Hinata looked at the ground. She was a little disappointed Naruto wasn't there with them. Kurenai, Hinata, and Shino suddenly heard a loud noise. It sounded like 2 metal objects clashing. They rushed over to where the noise was coming from. They were amazed at what they saw. Kakashi and Naruto were leaping through the trees at high speeds. The 2 of them were fighting with swords. So that's what Kakashi wanted to teach him, although that sword Naruto's carrying does look familiar, Kurenai thought. Kurenai looked down at Hinata who was standing next to her. Hinata smiled. She could probably watch Naruto practice all day. Kurenai smiled at her. She was like Hinata in some ways at that age when it came to boys. Shino walked up to Kurenai and Hinata. He can certainly keep up with Kakashi, Shino said, trying to spark a conversation for once. Yes, but I don't think Kakashi is trying his hardest right now, Kurenai said. Agreed, Shino replied. The 2 of them fought with swords for the next 2 hours before both calling it quits. Kakashi was tired, while Naruto was still full of energy, but he was hungry. Naruto and Kakashi walked up to Kurenai, Hinata, and Shino. Shino and Hinata had just completed the tree walking exercise. Tsunami came out of the forest with a basket. "I brought you lunch," Tsunami said with a smile on her face. "Awesome! Food!" Naruto exclaimed. Hinata giggled at his enthusiasm. "Calm down, Naruto-kun," she laughed. Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. The five of them sat down to eat. Once they had finished, Naruto wanted to go look around town again. "Come on guys. Let's go," Naruto exclaimed in the direction of his teammates. "You three be careful. Gato will be sending more men," Kurenai warned. "Do you think they will be alright?" Tsunami asked. "Of course, they may not look it, but they are all able to take care of themselves," Kakashi replied. In Konoha, Hiruzen was sitting in his office. He had appointed Ebisu as temporary sensei to Team 7 yesterday. The aged Hokage hadn't expected Hayashi arranging an appointment with him today. Hiruzen wasn't sure what Hayashi wanted. He was more emotionless than Shino's father, Shiba. Hiruzen heard a knock on the door. "Come in," Hiruzen said. It was Hayashi Hyuga, and he looked emotionless, as always. "What is it you wanted to speak with me about, Hayashi?" Hiruzen asked. "I wish to know why you sent Team 8 out on a C-ranked mission. And then sent Kakashi Hatake as backup," Hayashi asked. "I sent your daughter's team out on a C-ranked mission because Naruto requested it and his team had no objection to it," Hiruzen explained. "Alright, that explains one thing. But why did you send Kakashi out?" Hayashi asked. Hiruzen sighed. He had hoped he wouldn't have to explain that. "I had a bad feeling about the mission," Hiruzen explained. "Since Kakashi isn't back yet, I take it your bad feeling turned out to be something more?" Hayashi asked. "Indeed. Kakashi is with them now, and he will be staying for the duration of the mission," Hiruzen replied. "Very well. I'll take my leave then," Hayashi said. He got up from his chair and left the room. Well, that went better than I expected, Hiruzen thought. Elsewhere in the village, Ebisu was trying to work with Team 7. He was having a very hard time trying to get them to focus. The three genin in front of him had potential to become great shinobi someday. Kiba was currently yelling at Sasuke, while Sakura was fawning over the latter. "You three are supposed to be a team, but all I see are three brats," Ebisu scolded. The three turned their attention towards him. They looked rather upset. "Good, I've finally gotten your attention. You three are supposed to be a team, and thus need to start acting like it. Not like some fangirl who's going to get killed on her first real mission for not taking things seriously, nor some little boy trying to play alpha dog. And certainly not some spoiled brat who can't get his head out of the past," Ebisu said in an angry tone. Ebisu was a little shocked at himself. He hadn't yelled at anyone like that in years. He waited a moment before saying anything else. They were surprisingly quiet and seemed like they were willing to listen to his instruction. "Now we will start with tree climbing exercise, then the water walking technique. Then we will work on working together as a group," Ebisu stated. "But we can already climb trees," Kiba said. "With only your feet?" Ebisu asked. "Well, no," Kiba replied. Ebisu chuckled a bit and showed them how to perform the technique. He walked up the tree using only his feet. Once he came back down from the tree, he explained how to do what he just did. "Now I want you to practice this until you can walk up and down the tree at least once," Ebisu said. Sakura did it on the first try, while Kiba and Sasuke struggled to get even a few feet up the tree before losing control. They would take considerably longer to be able to do this rather simple task. With Zabuza, Haku had just gotten back from spying on the Leaf Ninja. "Tell me, Haku, what have you Learned from them so far? Zabuza asked. Out of the Genin, the blonde they call Naruto seems to be the most skilled. The blonde is currently training in the art of Kenjutsu. I thought the girl, Hinata, was blind, due to not having pupils in her eyes, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The last member they call Shino. He uses insects, Haku explained. A Hyuga, and an Aburame. Interesting, Zabuza mumbled. Zabuza began to think about the one called Naruto. He knows how to use a sword? Maybe things won't be so dull after all, he thought. I'll be getting back to my assignment then, Haku said. He was about to leave when they heard Gato. Why haven't you dealt with the bridge builder yet? He asked angrily. I will when I damn well please, Zabuza said. He threw his sword past Gato's head, causing it to slice into the wall. Gato was terrified, and quickly ran out of the room. As soon as he is done, I'm going to have him killed. Gato thought. Even though Gato was his employer, Zabuza loved to terrorize the little fat man. Haku bowed, he left to go back to his assignment. With Kakashi and Kurenai and Kakashi were sitting on the roof of Tazuna's house, watching the surrounding area. Tazuna was inside the house negotiating with his workers. They had been in there for almost 2 hours now. So Kakashi-kun, what are you thinking about? Kurenai asked in a sweet tone. Well, I was thinking about the demon brothers. They always traveled with a man called Zabuza Momochi, Kakashi said. And you think he's here as well? Why hasn't he attacked us then? Kurenai asked. He's probably been watching us, waiting for some kind of opening to get the bridge builder, Kakashi replied. The front door opened, and the workers began to exit Tazuna's house. Kakashi jumped down to talk with Tazuna once the workers were gone. So when will construction start up again? Kakashi asked. In a few days, that was the soonest I could get them back to work, Tazuna replied. I see. Well, at least that will give us some time to train Naruto, Shino, and Hinata, Kakashi said. Kakashi was mainly interested in training Naruto, but he would help train the other two as well. So should I go get Shino, Hinata, and Naruto? Kurenai asked. No, let them have their fun for today. Tomorrow we will be doing team training with them, Kakashi responded. Why have you taken such an interest in Naruto? Kurenai asked. Sorry, Kurenai, but I can't answer that question right now, Kakashi replied. Kurenai decided not to press the issue. The two walked back into the house with Tazuna to talk about what they would be doing until construction on the bridge could start again. In the woods, Naruto, Shino and Hinata were practicing their teamwork in the forest. They really hadn't done much of that yet, so they took it upon themselves to train together. They ran through the trees working on their formations. After they did that for a time, they worked on target practice. They had set up a few targets that they had to each hit at least twice with a shuriken, or kunai. They had to hit the target while moving at full speed through the treetops and at the same time. Shino had contributed this training exercise. It only took the three of them a little over an hour before they had gotten their timing down. What should we work on next? Hinata asked. How about our taijutsu? Naruto suggested. Well, I don't really use taijutsu, I normally use my bugs, Shino said. Well, you can't always rely on your bugs for everything, Shino, Naruto said. Good point, I suppose it would be best to work on my taijutsu and stamina, Shino replied. So how are we going to do this? There are 3 of us, Hinata stated. Well, how about you and Shino come at me and we will go from there? Naruto suggested. Naruto undid the strap to his sword. He placed the sword next to a tree and took a taijutsu stance. Hinata did the same and got into her gentle fist stance. Shino also took a taijutsu stance, but Naruto didn't know what type it was. Alright, let's go. Naruto shouted. Hinata and Shino ran at Naruto. Naruto easily blocked their attacks and countered with his own. His counter-attacks weren't as fast as they could be. He slowed them down enough for his teammates to barely avoid. The three genin sparred for almost an hour before Hinata and Shino ran out of energy. Naruto, on the other hand, was still full of energy and ready for round 2. Hinata and Shino had gotten a few hits on Naruto while they had spared. Their hits weren't enough to slow him down though. "So you guys ready for round 2? Naruto asked. "Sorry Naruto, but we just don't have the kind of stamina you have," Shino replied. A young man came out of the bushes. He was wearing a pair of pants and a long-sleeved t-shirt. "That was quite impressive," the young man said. The three genin turned and looked at the young man standing before them. "Who are you?" Naruto asked. "My name is Haku," the young man replied. "Are you three ninja by chance?" Haku asked. "Yeah," Naruto said, he had a big smile on his face. "What are you doing out here in the forest, Haku?" Hinata asked. "I was just going for a walk and saw you three, and decided to watch," Haku replied. Haku talked with the three genin about why they were in the land of waves. He was surprised, they were so open with the information they gave. Haku found it refreshing to talk with people his own age. He was talking about bugs with Shino, while Naruto and Hinata were sitting next to each other against a tree enjoying the weather. "Wow, I never knew bugs could be used like that," Haku said. He was honestly impressed with the uses bugs had when paired with someone properly trained in their uses. Shino looked up at the sky. It was getting dark, and he knew it was time to get back to Tazuna's house. "Naruto, Hinata, we should be getting back now," Shino said. "Oh, right. I guess you're right. It's getting pretty dark, after all," Naruto replied. The three started to walk away. Naruto saw the sad look on Haku's face when they started to leave. "Hey Haku, if you come by Tazuna's house tomorrow we can talk again," Naruto said. Haku smiled genuinely. "I would like that," Haku replied. Naruto went over to the tree and grabbed his sword. The genin sprinted all the way back to Tazuna's house. Of course, Naruto was faster than Hinata and Shino were and ran circles around them. "So Haku, did you have fun?" Zabuza asked as he appeared from behind a group of trees. "When did you get here?" Haku asked. Haku was a bit nervous, as he didn't realize Zabuza was watching. Zabuza laughed, he leaned against a tree. "Just now. Come on. We have things to do," Zabuza said. The two of them disappeared. Naruto and his team arrived back at Tazuna's house. Their clothes were a bit dirty and beat up from their sparring session. They walked into the house. They were greeted by Kakashi and Kurenai who were sitting on the couch. "You guys get into a fight or something?" Kakashi asked. "No, we were just doing some team training, that's all," Naruto replied. "Excellent," Kakashi said. Inari came down the stairs. "Oh, you're still here?" Inari asked in an angry tone. "Of course we are, we were hired for a job and we are going to finish it," Naruto said. "Heh, you will die just like my father then," Inari replied. "I hear your father died trying to protect this country from Gato," Naruto said. Inari became extremely angry at Naruto's words. "Yeah, he died a fool. Now my life sucks," Inari yelled. "I don't see what's that bad about it. You have your mom and your grandfather still," Naruto replied. Naruto was talking in a calm voice trying to make Inari see the good parts of his life. However, it seemed Inari would have none of it. "What do you know about a bad life?" Inari asked in retort. Everyone looked at Naruto. He said nothing. He stood there. He had a dead look in his eyes as if someone had just stabbed him through the heart. Naruto turned around and walked out of the house saying nothing. That was the wrong thing to say to him, Kakashi said once Naruto had left the house. Why? What could be so horrible in his life? Inari asked angrily. Hinata wanted to go after Naruto but Kurenai put a hand on her shoulder. Give him some time alone, Hinata, Kurenai said in a sweet voice. Hinata looked down at the floor. She just wanted to comfort him. She knew what the villagers had done to him in the past. All right, kid, if you want to know about Naruto's life, take a seat, Kakashi said in an irritated tone. Kakashi thought of where he should start his story. He decided to start the story when the orphanage kicked Naruto out. At the age of 6, Naruto was kicked out of the orphanage. Before we found him, he had survived by living in the park, picking for scraps for a month. After we found him and gave him an apartment, the civilians mistreated him. On his birthday or special events, the villagers would chase him and try to beat him. Most of the time we were successful at leading the villagers away from him, but sometimes he would get beaten half to death by them. Oh, and just so you know, Naruto never knew his parents, Kakashi said. Kakashi was short and to the point, not going into any detail about the events he talked about. He never wanted to talk about the events of Naruto's life, but he felt this boy needed a reality check. Before anyone could ask a question or say anything, Kakashi stood up. Now if you will excuse me, I think I'll turn in early tonight, Kakashi said. He disappeared up the stairs. Hinata just sat there on the floor. She had seen the villagers' treatment of Naruto firsthand, but she never imagined it was truly that bad. I'm going to go find Naruto, Hinata said. She quickly made her exit out the front door of the house to find Naruto. Everyone else in the house felt sick from hearing that short but disturbing description of Naruto's life. Hinata was in the woods looking for Naruto, Byakugan, she exclaimed. She scanned the area for Naruto. Hinata saw Naruto with her Byakugan. He was standing next to a large boulder next to a small lake. Don't you think you overreacted just a little over what that brat said? The fox said. Shut up, I don't feel like talking with you right now, Naruto replied. Fine, wallow in your own self-pity. By the way, your maid is coming, the Kyuubi said. Stop calling her that, fuzzball, Naruto replied. He would have normally yelled at the fox for that remark, but he wasn't in the mood. Hinata came out of the woods. She stood no more than a foot behind Naruto, and she wasn't sure what to say. Hey, are you alright, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked. Naruto didn't turn around, he just looked at the moon reflected in the water. Images of what happened to him were flooding his mind, they were things he wanted to forget. Naruto, it's getting late, we should go back, Hinata said. Naruto walked over and sat down against the large boulder near the edge of the water. He looked up at Hinata, who was still standing. Can you stay here for a little bit with me? He asked. Of course, Naruto-kun, she replied. Hinata smiled and walked over to Naruto. She sat down beside him. Hinata leaned against Naruto. It was a little cold out, and he was very warm. So did Kakashi or Kurenai talk about my past after I left the house? He asked. Naruto put his arm around her, pulling her closer to him. Hinata blushed furiously. Kakashi did briefly, Hinata replied. Is it true you never knew your parents at all? She asked. Yep, I don't even have a picture. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to, though, Naruto replied. What Inari said. Did it hurt that much? She asked. Naruto sighed. It brought back a lot of memories I'd rather forget about Hinata-chan, Naruto replied. Hinata sighed. She was enjoying just sitting there with Naruto in the moonlight. Naruto, why do the villagers hate you? Hinata asked. Naruto tensed up at hear her question. I'd rather not talk about it, he said. Could it wait till this mission is over? He asked. All right, she replied. Hinata would wait until he was ready to talk about it. Hinata soon fell asleep with Naruto's arm wrapped around her. So you're finally going to tell her about me? The Kyuubi asked. Only if she remembers when this mission is over with. Yes, if she doesn't well. Naruto replied. Either you tell her when the mission is over or I will. I grow tired of tiptoeing around the issue, the Kyuubi stated. And how are you going to do that? Naruto asked. You're stuck inside of me, remember, he said. The giant fox just laughed at Naruto. You think just because I'm sealed in you doesn't mean I can't talk with the outside world, he said with laugh. Don't be so foolish, the only reason I haven't done so yet is because it would cause too many problems. I thought you liked causing problems? Naruto asked, he had a big grin on his face. Oh, trust me, I do, but there is no fun in causing problems when I'm stuck in you, the fox replied. Well, it's getting late, I should be getting Hinata back, Naruto mumbled. Naruto picked Hinata up gently, trying not to wake her. He would have normally run through the trees, but that would most likely wake her up, so he walked. Once he arrived at the house, he saw Kurenai was waiting on the front porch for them. I was about to go look for you too, Kurenai said. Sorry about that, I just needed some time to think, Naruto replied. Of course, could you go put Hinata to bed? Kurenai asked. That's where I was heading, he replied. Naruto walked up the stairs to Hinata and Kurenai's rooms. He placed Hinata on bed in the room. He just turned away from the bed and took one step to leave when a hand grabbed and pulled him into the bed. What the? Naruto said as he landed on the bed. Hinata snuggling closer to him, she was still asleep. It seems she doesn't want you to leave, the fox said, he was laughing. Kurenai walked into the room and was shocked to see a sleeping Hinata snuggling with Naruto in bed. I didn't do it on purpose, Naruto said, trying to defend himself. Kurenai said nothing, she just smiled and turned around, shutting the door behind her. She started to laugh as she walked back down the stairs. She was going to be sleeping on the couch tonight. Kurenai didn't think Naruto would try anything, but if she found out later he did, she would kill him. Naruto smiled at his girlfriend. Well, I guess this isn't so bad, he thought. Tomorrow would be an interesting day for them, at least the morning would be when Hinata wakes up to find that she pulled Naruto into bed with her, in her sleep. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.